Donna's not saying that identifying as Christian or going to church is going to provide a path to success, but embodying the values that come from some Christian Bible are going to make you successful. So things like taking care of your family, taking care of your communities, adhering to the 10 Commandments. So like no gangbanging, no drug shit, no thug shit, no being infidelious or whatever, like all of this shit. If you follow these rules, it is a path to success for your community.
But when we attack Destiny in his space, yeah, he gonna fight back.
Yo, shut the
It's his space.
Uh-oh.
Take the plank out of your eye before you start telling other people.
No.
When you guys
Kill
treat
yourself.
me a certain way, Destiny, you shouldn't have never let Max in here, bro.
A lot of people came in talking about their black experience and whatnot. Mine is pretty unique because my father was like, my dad was the father of the modern day Juneteenth movement. Like he got Juneteenth passed in 46 states here, like in the U.S. And he's been an activist all his life, pretty much. So, and I've lived in the South all my life, through the 80s, 90s, with the view of like having an activist for a father. He's telling me everything that, all the history of black people in the United States and things like that. And also some of the stuff around the world as well. Seeing like his struggle, seeing how my peers, struggle, because I grew up in an impoverished neighborhood. Let me see. And I've sat in with a lot of talks with black leaders. Who was Thomas McCrae. He's like the leader of the Black Evangelical Church, a pretty large Black Evangelical Church. Dr. Thomas McCrae. I've actually no shit. Oh yeah, just to give like my experience on some things. Like I saw you guys have a lot of questions. I had a lot of viewpoints and stuff like that. And I just want to, just chime in a little bit.
Okay. What are you chiming in? Like, what are you saying? Where are we wrong? Like, I'm getting a bit bored. Like, you need to quick it up a little bit. I'm sorry.
Well, for one, like, I guess it was more Annalise on this point. But it was like the black experience in America versus like around the world. Like the black experience in America, like Steven said, is vastly, vastly different than anywhere else in the world. Like for one, nowhere else in the world do you have black people inside of like a white country that has an upper black middle class or black middle class like Atlanta. Like that doesn't happen in the UK. It's nowhere else in the world. It's just America, not even in Canada. So like we have our experience is truly unique, especially with like how many black epicenters for commerce and things that we built that were destroyed. Atlanta was kind of like it was about to be destroyed during the Atlanta race riots, but it was like because of the National Guard it was saved. So it's like, yeah, we have a lot. Like it's a very, very unique experience, I would say.
Yeah. The thing is, Jason, nobody is disagreeing that like you have a unique experience, and the thing is, I would never speak over an African American or a Black American of their experience. All I'm saying is that if we are to, I think there is benefit in sharing our international experience so we can understand how systemic racism and how it is not, we can see what is culture and what isn't. Does that make sense? Like nobody's saying that like Black experience is the same and that like I could never speak for you, okay? You can only speak for you.
True.
Yeah. Okay?
I feel like when you said you were bored just a little bit earlier, you were kind of speaking over him.
Oh, because I'm not getting what he's saying. Like, he's just talking about some church minister. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, just got... Like,
I mean, he was introducing himself.
Yeah.
But it was taking like 10 minutes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to drag on, but yeah, it was just an introduction.
No, you're hold on, wait. Well, real quick, hold on. You're good. You weren't dragging on. You're totally fine. I'm sorry, but
sorry.
Go, no. Jeez. I think it's just because what? Because you kind of shit all over the guy. Juneteenth is like it's a federal holiday in the United States. It's like a decently big deal, right?
Yeah, big deal, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, bro. Like my dad was fighting for this forever. I wish he would have got a chance to see it. He passed in 2018, but. I wish he would have got a chance to see it. He would have been like jumping all over the street. He would have had a whole personal parade across the country, like just him marching. I'm sure he would have done that. But it's a really, really big deal. A lot of elbows are rubbed, a lot of feathers ruffled to get this passed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, but that was the introduction. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so we had comments earlier about what I don't even know what you want to chime in. We went all over the place. Yeah, what do you want to say? Go for it.
Let me see. man.
Or
I mean, yo,
I'll give you a guiding question that you can talk around it. Okay.
Yeah, please.
So one of the topics that Fenty is kind of bringing up that people have been kind of speaking around is it seems like there's questions of when it comes to the black community in the United States, obviously there are problems. How much of the onus needs to be on the black community versus like people in charge of systems to remedy a lot of these problems? So people like Fenty or maybe Anna are kind of pushing more on like there needs to be more responsibility or cultural changes in the black community. Like that's where most of the change needs to come from. Other people on the left would push and say like, well, actually these are systemic changes that need to come from, like government and whatnot. Yeah, that's kind of like the conversation that's kind of sort of happening right now. And then, yeah, you can speak around that or contribute to that however you want.
Okay. I say everybody does have a valid point. Like there needs to be a lot more. There doesn't need to be a lot more personal responsibility. But at the same time, it's that line between personal responsibility and government policy is very blurred. Like so, for instance, if you look at economic mobility, like a lot of people who are born in the middle class don't move out of middle class, and it's like it's statistically most people. If you're born in a class, you're almost certain to die in that class. You might move upward just a little bit, just enough for your kids to maybe move up a little bit. But for the most part, you're pretty much stuck there. And I think that black Americans just fall into that. The only time that we did see black Americans rise in a pretty short time, believe it or not, post Civil War, pretty much between 1867 and 1876, you saw like a black elite, which is what sparked a lot of these riots and things. Like a lot of people didn't like that, like in the 1900s. But yeah, you did see a lot of freed slaves who were doctors and lawyers, even like states. The first black statesman came from post-Reconstruction era. So yeah, like after Jim Crow though, these areas got so toxic, like so toxic. Like even in the area I'm from, it's really hard for black children, for black people to break out of the mindset they were like kind of beat into them. Like I knew a lot of people I went to school with who were like geniuses, really great artists, and because nobody instilled in them that they could go to Harvard or Juilliard or even like to a school outside of their state, a lot of them never pushed to it. And it's kind of hard to explain like that mentality that black people get stuck in.
I know Anna's not here, but can I kind of, if I'm to like summarize my issues with like her explanation of why black people, not just in America, but globally are in the situation that they're in today, it really hinges on like her arguing that like changes in black people's tactics, like everything from like civil disobedience to urban violence has like led to this onslaught of like a new form of racial resentment that we find fueling controversies culturally over like welfare, crime, drugs, family, affirmative action. But like you're saying, and you were explaining a concept that's known as like stickiness at the ends, like this idea of like a lack of economic mobility within these communities, that if you're born into a certain economic class, you're very likely to remain in the economic class. You're not going to transcend it. It's extremely unlikely. Like what Anna never brings to the conversation is like a materially based explanation for like why these changes have occurred, And I think she kind of relies more on like cultural tropes instead of like biological tropes to explain like black people's position in America, at least. But she never wants to talk about like the central factor that really shapes like black people's lives. And it is that materialist understanding, like viewing these like racial matters, I guess is like all of these people are kind of like actors that are just corresponding to their systemic location within their country, relative to their economic position or social position, like you're saying.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. I don't know why people harp on that, personal responsibility aspect of it. Like I said, that I do agree that personal responsibility plays a part, but the people who kind of break out of these molds, I would say, are kind of superhuman in themselves. Like, we're talking about exceptions of the exception. Like, not only did you break out economically, you broke out of it mentally, things like that. And, a lot of people don't want to talk about the reason why they're even in those positions is because of systemic racism and systemic policies, that put them there.
We're always talking about that. People always want to talk about that. And I feel like we talk about it too much. That's my point.
Right, but we can't like disregard it at all. Like it has to be equal part of the conversation. Like even in the 80s, like
Yeah, it
my
has to be
parents.
equal. We gotta tone down the 100% to 50.
Right. I mean, like even like my parents, like in the 90s, were denied housing. And my father was a doctor, and they told him no. Like they just lied to him. Like my mom is like, I guess you would say white passing. She has two black parents, but when she would go to look at a house, it was available. When my dad would go look at a house, it was not available. All of a sudden, like same day sometimes. And like that plays a huge part. You're taking away a big advantage of, somebody's upper mobility is owning a house, equity, and having to be able to have the ability to loan against it for certain things like businesses and things like that. So yeah, that plays, I would argue personally, that's at least 60% of the equation. But,
That's what
I
I
guess
said
it's
last
just
time. It's 60-40, right? 60-40. That's the ratio. Oh, Destiny.
Hi.
Can we add Azzy? He's waiting in tier 4.
Okay, so
Young Don, introduce yourself real quick, so people know you.
Yeah, how's it going? I'm Young Don, got a YouTube channel, Young Don Reborn. Yeah, so I just listening to the conversation, right? It sounds like trying to catch up. So on one hand, I'm hearing someone saying that we need to acknowledge, the historical impacts of systematic racism and overt racism, right, on an individualistic level in history. And on the other hand, I'm hearing, but at the same time, we need to acknowledge that, but do something differently. I'm not quite sure what it is that we're even trying to accomplish with this conversation.
Yeah, so the issue is that some people, so Sophie is worried that if we constantly talk about systemic racism, you've essentially like created a group of people that do not have the ability to improve their conditions materially, because all they're going to be able to do is fixate on any either real or perceived injustice around them, and their ability to actually succeed in an environment where they might be able to succeed otherwise is going to be destroyed because of a victim mentality.
Okay. All right. And everybody here, what, generally disagrees, agrees? What's going on?
I think that there's more at play than just simply a victim mentality keeping Black people down, or specifically Black Americans. Like, I don't think Black Americans want to be in the economic and social position that they're in this country today. And so if it's just a matter of like, oh, we'll try harder, I think they would have already done it.
Nobody is saying it doesn't exist. It exists, but we need to be strong psychologically if we ever are going to have a chance to get over it.
I mean, I think
no point in walking through this world being like, oh, there's no matter what I'm going to do because it's only going to matter as half amount to what a white person does. There's no point walking around. You have to wake up in the morning and be like, yes, I'm strong. I can do this. I got to do this. And there's no point in focusing on the systemic racism because, like, if that's all you see, that's all you're going to be.
All right. So the problem, I think, with that, I mean, we need to just address this on an individualistic level. I mean, Black people aren't a monolith. Black people aren't all born into the exact same situation. You have Black people that are born into extreme poverty where no one around them is educated, surrounded by violence and no positive role models. And then you have Black people who are born into like middle-class environments. Of course, someone who is born into a middle-class environment who never experiences any type of overt racism gets all the same resources as their white counterparts. Their attitude, or what you would tell them in order to succeed, is going to be very different than the kid who was born into like poverty. And so
my main thing is my thing of the focus on identity is the main thing is that keeping us psychologically weak. That's the thing that is affecting us as a monolith. Okay. I mean, particularly, that put me down a hell of a lot when I was young. When I figured out what systemic racism was, I got hella angry at everybody around me, and I had to get myself psychologically out of that trap. And that's what the liberal left are doing. They're perpetuating this weak mentality that keeps us a victim to the systemic racism. That does exist. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but regardless of whether it exists or not, we still have to be prosperous.
Fancy, I feel like you're talking about some of the most like resilient communities psychologically when you talk about like Black Americans in terms of like taking just like a sober understanding of the amount of deprivation that like Black Americans have faced in their entire legacy within this country.
Well, for 60 years worth of...
I brought that up. I said, listen, Black men work themselves to death. 90% of us are in the labor force, and that the laziness or any of that, like the pessimism, is not holding you down. All it is, I'm saying, is that we need to start building our generational wealth. If like we can't just be looking at systemic racism and being like, yo, this is what it is. We have to do something about that. So we have to build our foundations first so that we can compete on the same equal levels as our white counterparts. And that means building values.
I always find it interesting how like black people get into these like kind of conversations, you know, when speaking as if like black people are by any means this like united group of people that, you know, are moving. Like we are so.
That's how the world treats us, right? I mean, there is a collective experience, regardless of if it's different or not. There is something to learn about all of them.
Sure, like that's how the world treats us, but that isn't our experience. You know what I mean?
I disagree. I've been in like African and Caribbean. I even go into East Indian and West Indian. I see a lot of similarities in the way we present ourselves, the way we socialize. And we kind of have this faux black experience where we all think we're aligned at a certain threshold, and the world kind of treats a certain way. To Fenty's point, like the way we are perceived and the way we interact with that perception affects the way across all economic thresholds. We all tend to have a uniquely set mindset about how we interact with the world. It's like if we were dealing with police, we're going to tell all dark-skinned people, and I've heard this from East Indian and West Indian, if you're dark-skinned and you deal with the police, they're going to treat you a certain way like they would treat a African-American person, because we're all black in their eyes. This is when, like, and I think when Annalicia was attacking the Mexican, or Mexican have a unique experience where they are like truly American in certain in certain circumstances. There's like it's like, for instance, Steven it's like Cuban, but he's like German Cuban. I don't know. I'm not gonna assume, but he's Cuban. Well, Mexicans themselves, there's white Mexicans and there's brown Mexicans, but they're not uniquely a race in people's eyes, because they seem to be able to tote the line where they can choose between being white or being Mexican in certain circumstances, and black people can't do that.
I'm the Mexican that Anna was yelling at, trying to like skin check me or whatever. I mean, I can't get into the nuances of this conversation with her, but I'd be glad to get into it with you. It's like, I've never pretended that like my experience as like a light-skinned Mexican woman, which I am. I know I'm light-skinned, and people think that there's like just ample opportunities for me to be like white passing in America. It's not been my experience. If you speak to other white passing like Hispanic people, maybe that has been their experience. Like recently I was in Austin, and there were multiple people who came up to me and tried, like white people who tried to speak to me in like broken Spanish, like they're assuming that I don't speak English at all, which is fine, but like that's one way that people perceive me to be non-white. And I recognize it again, like since I'm white, I'm light-skinned Mexican, my proximity to whiteness is closer than that of like a darker skinned Hispanic person or a black person, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to like incur all the benefits and privileges that like a white person has in this country. And I feel like Anna wants or thinks that I do, but it's just not true. Like,
I don't think that at all. I don't think she was saying you are incurring the benefits. She's saying that you have access to the benefits more than, I mean, she's inferring it without saying it. You have access to certain benefits that certain black people or black passing people, even if they're not even American black, even if they're not even black, but if they look black, they will not have access to those benefits. They will not have access to those rooms. They will not have access to those opportunities.
What do you
even see that?
Oh, wait. You're doing this like general, like broad sweep. Like, are you insinuating like Jaden Smith is going to be treated the same way by police living in, Beverly Hills as, a dude living in
real quick on that. Okay. To some extent in the United States, yeah, unfortunately, right? So like, there was that. You
don't believe that Jaden Smith is gonna like get treated the same way as some like dude growing up in the hood of Chicago?
So right? do you remember that? Wait, hold on, wait. Do you remember the story of Henry Louis Gates?
Yep.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that guy was a Harvard professor, and I think he got arrested for breaking into his own house in a decently nice neighborhood, right? That's unfortunately kind of like part of the shitty experience sometimes of like being black in the United States. I don't know if that would have happened to a white guy, or who was the guy? I don't remember the name of the guy that was just
treat you like a black person.
Yeah, or who was the guy? Who was the guy that was jogging that just got killed? Who the people just got
Ahmaud
convicted?
Arbery.
Yeah,
Ahmaud Arbery. I mean, look at more recently, Ryan Coogler, director for Black Panther, right?
Yeah, but no, that situation, that's completely different. Like, if you actually, I have a podcast, we broke that story down. The dude literally handed a note. You know, he ain't had a lineup in like 2 months. He was looking crazy, dressed in a bummy fit, and in a note, put this much money in this account. That was not fair. What do you mean it doesn't matter? That is a sketch thing. If I was the teller on the other side of that, I would be like, that sketch, regardless of their race. Like, this dude coming looking bummy, you know, handing a note where his handwriting looked bad. He's like, oh yeah, put this money in this.
Gambino was smelling bad for like a good portion of his, he was looking bad and smelling bad for a good portion of his like a career, and people treated him a certain way, but he wasn't like treated badly by the cops. Or
I'm talking specific
for people saying he's misrepresenting that story. That story is pretty accurate. If you look at the video footage of the guy going to the bank, he actually does look pretty weird. That was the one where I was like,
you know, dressed like how, you know, a normal person would dress, and then spoke with his mouth and said, hey, I would like to withdraw this money. Here's my identification. Here's my debit card. I don't think
you know there's a problem with that, right? You know there's a problem with that, right? Like
no, there is.
Steven.
What?
Steven.
Why are you talking to me? What?
I need to tell you something. I never watched ABBA, so take that what you will. He's not my brown sugar, so work it out. I'm gonna catch you later.
Oh, okay. Thanks a lot. Have fun. Be careful.
Hey, yo, peace and love,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Fenty.
Yeah, no, the greater point that I would make earlier, right, was that I'm not saying that black people by and large don't have a different experience than white people, regardless of your, you know, social status or your financial status. But what I am saying is that all black people aren't in the exact same situation in every context, whether it's interacting with the police, whether it's the opportunities that are, you know, presented to you. And so what I'm saying is that we oftentimes speak in terms as if the solution is this one size fits all, like broad like issue for all black people, when it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but the one size, the broad brush is to fight the perception. It's not to fight the individuals, the diaspora of black people. It's not to fight that. Yeah, in reality, we're all different, and if we act a certain way, we're going to be treated a certain way. But we're not just dealing with reality in certain aspects. We're dealing with people's imaginations, you know, their stereotypes or their implicit biases, right? And we can't. There's no specific stimuli. It's very hard to pinpoint how somebody subconsciously feels about us. But there are certain things we can do as a community over time. It's going to take a lot of time in order to fight those perceptions and those false imaginations. Like, in order to fight racism, the concept of race is a imaginary term, and if you go purely scientific, but we're dealing with beyond just like science. We're dealing with how people socialize with each other. So
I think that's the issue. It's like we're trying to fight racism. Like it's too big and vague. You know what I'm saying?
It's been around for so long.
But I think
it's been around for so long. It's become a staple in how we deal with each other.
If you know, like, look at individual situations, like look at a group of children in a very specific community, and let's, you know, address their needs on an individual level. You know what I mean? Like, equip them with the knowledge they need. Maybe they do live in an over-policed environment where, you know, they are more likely to have a negative physical interaction with the police. All right, let's equip them with the knowledge and wisdom they need to handle that, but also let's give the resources to them that they need to lift themselves out of that. Like, I think to, you know, the young lady, whoever just left, I think she was the one who was speaking to the whole constant talk of systematic racism. I guess that might have been somewhat of what she was trying to speak to, is like the, you know, just we speak in these generalized terms about, oh, let's fight racism. It's like, to me, it's like a nothing conversation that goes nowhere, you know?
It can go somewhere if we stop trying to use mitigated, like, academic terminology to purely just like we have this thing of like trying to use data to get rid of how people get rid of the stigma of how people or the full realities of how people deal with each other, right? Like we try to get rid of like how people socialize by saying, oh, it's not really how we socialize because the data says otherwise. And it's kind of like, I think it's kind of it shows our lack of grassroots engagement, and it shows a lack of I'm lacking words on this. It shows our lack of I don't want to say ignorance, but I'm gonna say it. You sound kind of ignorant when you go straight to the data and say like, I'll say this, Annalicia too, and I'm sorry, straighter. I'm gonna say this to you too. So you're kind of ignorant of what's going on in the realities between.
What data have I mentioned?
No, I'm not talking about you, Don. But okay. I'm saying we can have this conversation, but we need to stay within the realms of this conversation and not try to insert data or insert what we believe and how we feel, and just deal with what we're talking about. And if you haven't had this experience, like we were trying to discount it. Oh, not me, but you guys were trying to discount each other based upon your experiences instead of just dealing with the set experiences of the situation, which can be seen globally. So then that's a problem, because then you're going to get into this nothing of a conversation like Don, you're talking about, Don. We're trying to just insert, it's like I'm a Muslim and I'm trying to talk about like the Christian, or I'm a Christian, I'm trying to bring in a Muslim doctrine, and it has nothing to do with each other. Now we're trying to discount each other, and it becomes like a shouting match.
Look, it became a shouting match because there's some context missing from that conversation, because I've engaged with Anna multiple times before, and the only reason why data had to be inserted into in that particular conversation is because she has no understanding, or is reckless, or is not careful enough to properly contextualize or like understand the stats that she's citing. So, you know, I'm sure you've heard the saying that like
I comprehend the way she uses her stats, and the way I comprehend them the same way. I just wouldn't engage in a conversation the way she deals with it. I think the way she deals with conversation affects our perception of the way she's using the statistics.
Can you repeat that last?
As in, I, as a viewer, understand everything she was talking about in an academic, because in my academic journey, I dealt with a lot of the same data points that she was talking about, and in class and in conversation and in life, and I can understand them and comprehend them in a certain way. But I think that we are engaging with her a certain way because she's like bold and reckless, and she's mean and rude.
Well, I mean, I just don't like when she tries to bring up my skin color and like race as a means to dismiss like my points, or like not engage with my arguments, because she's done that to me multiple times.
That's her being rude.
And then the conversation gets derailed from there, because one, she was complaining that people were making assumptions about her background, but she was just like fine to call me white, and she has no knowledge about like my background or my understanding. And white is not the experience that I would describe having in my life, or like in this country, or like ever.
Yeah, but I would say it's lazy. I'm interrupting you, but I want to get into this after you.
Well, just that. Like I'm trying to, the only reason why numbers entered the conversation is because if she's going to bring up stats and then she presents them in a way that's misleading or false entirely, then I feel like somebody should bring up the fact that like, hey, what she just said and like the things that she's trying to cite were incorrect, wrong, miscontextualized, misleading. And then when I was pushing her to like, okay, if you disagree with like my rebuttal, then what are you citing or what? And she told me to do my own homework.
I think because you guys already had this conversation, and she did cite, and we came to the conclusion, or she came to the conclusion, which you did not accept, is that your study that you brought that said that the absenteeism is a stereotype. She said the studies you brought up is only particularly dealing with individuals who are actively in their families, not the sort of active or the truly absent. So like the individuals who are the most active was I clear in what I said?
Kind of. Is that my problem is that she always wants to conflate in these conversations being unmarried with being absent, and that's not the same thing.
Yeah, but you kind of did it. Well, okay, so you can't be truly married if you're absent. And you can't you can't grow a good family network if you're absent. I'm sure Jason and Don would agree. I think we all would agree.
You're not capturing the
pointing to
spirit of that.
men.
You're not capturing the
And
spirit
I
of
said
that
Destiny was
union.
black a while ago, so maybe that's needed.
Well, I agree that if you're technically married on paper, right, but you live apart, you're not cohabitating, or you have limited contact, or it's disrupted in that way, I agree that that's going to be the on-the-ground experience. But in terms of like how the CDC will collect data on Black families in America, they're not going to know the nuances and background of each individual married and unmarried Black person. They're going to count a Black family or a Black couple that's married with issues and not even living together, that's like entirely separated even, in the same way that they would categorize a married, successful Black family, because that's just not what that data set allows for.
So then it's our responsibility to add that nuance to the conversation. It's our responsibility to use that data responsibly, not use
Right.
it to counteract. Yeah, just to, because then you're gonna get into the arguments that you're gonna get into, and we already know who Anna is. And this is my gripe with the way we have these conversations, or like we dealt with, redacted, the two redacted people that we shall not name. The way we engage with them is emboldening them to be more of themselves, and we're unapologetically ourselves. So allow them to be unapologetically themselves, and just ignore the. I'm pretty sure we can be better people. We can be adults.
Oh, totally. But I feel like
people choose to roll around in the mud.
I agree, but I feel like Anna is kind of the one who like derails these conversations. Like she literally derailed that entire conversation because she just had to insert that I'm white, but I'm not white. And just like me even trying to correct her on that.
I'm not saying you don't have to ignore it, but I'm like, you can engage in that instead of just asking her like questions to clarify, just say I'm not white and I have circumstances that prove that I'm not white, and just move on. Like, and I'm pretty sure that the conversation Destiny had yesterday with Anna, the lead attorney, and Alex on that red pill, and it was they were able to come to certain conclusions because they were just being good faith and just holding each other accountable instead of just asking each other questions that leads nowhere.
She repeatedly asserted that I was white. Like I feel like you're kind of downplaying how much it derailed the conversation. Like, what if somebody was telling you that you weren't Black?
Who is this Anna chick? Like, what in terms of like why she's gone now, right?
Yeah, she is, but she's a big memer in my community.
Yeah, man, she's become another head. She's replaced redacted.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I just wanted to know if we're doing this like Young and the Restless thing right now, or are we gonna like talk about Black people? I'm just like.
So, yeah,
I want
let's
to talk about Black
people.
people.
But I would say it's a straighter aid in a social circumstance. If we weren't on a public platform, I would say, you sound a little iffy here. The way you dealing with this, yeah, Black absenteeism is kind of big, and there's a lot of individuals.
No one would deny that, but the absenteeism of Black men in the homes is like the primary reason why the Black community is exactly where it is today. I think it's all about the fact that we have fatherless homes and things of that nature. I personally wouldn't disagree with that. If that's her stance, then yeah, she didn't know what she's talking about. But like,
so then straighter aid, you're saying it's so now I want to engage with this, right?
Yeah.
And Don has also agreed that is a primary. I would say maybe number one, maybe number two. You can say systems, but we can only deal with systems so much. We can only deal. I'm gonna be the Angela Rye and say we got to deal with. We can engage with the system, but we can't be fully divested and we can't be fully invested in the system. There has to be both ways. That we have to go both ways in this. So
I agree, but I think that Anna was the one derailing, not me.
If we're talking about Black families, the system isn't in the household, right? When we come home, the system stops at the door, right? We may bring in the emotions of how we feel about the system, and the amount of money we bring in and the food we eat, but the family itself, we're still human beings at the end of the day.
Can it be said that the system kind of makes the family though, especially talking about Black people? If you have policies where like for instance, Black people were denied housing, so they all went to these projects and things. They're like, hey, guys, you come stay over here. It's close to the factory jobs that your husbands or whatever have. And then like bullshit happens. Black people can't stay.
But those poor people in the Caribbean seem to be the happiest go lucky people forever, even though they have all the crime, all those mobs, all the gang. They can still have a good family unit. And I'm being I may not know what I'm talking about, but when I go there, and I have friends who go there who have family there, their family unit is tight. Maybe I'm just talking to people, and my perception is colored. I'm just talking to people who have good family units there.
It varies. I grew up in Jamaica, right? So it varies. You definitely have homes that are still together, and then you have, I grew up in a divorce with divorced parents. So yeah, it just varies. But yeah, like anywhere else.
All right. But so then, are you going to blame the system that those families are we going to say the system is the reason why the family is broken?
Absolutely. Like, if black fathers can't stay here.
We're going to get into, gay people on TV is breaking the nuclear family. And
well, it's like,
I think that's the interesting road to go down, right? Because, yeah, we see broken families in places like Jamaica that isn't ruled by, white supremacy, right? It's like 99% black people in Jamaica. And then, so yeah, and then we have broken families here in America. I think you can argue, however, though, in America, you did have things like, the crack epidemic and the 3 strikes rule. And, it's a different thing. But I think at the heart of it, why the issues persist to this day is just a lack of biblical values. I think if we go back to there, I think that is the solution to everything. I believe,
No, I agree with you as a fellow Christian, right? Because, we have conversations like, I agree with you, but I also want to say that we were there at one point and it led up to this, right? We were there where Christian values was number one. But was it really? I don't really think. I think our progressive understanding.
Are you saying that Christian values led to black people being in the position they are today?
No, I think people misusing Christian values are not truly understanding Christian values. I don't think I only think the minority of people will truly understand. I only think the minority of people will truly understand what it means to be truly Christian. Because even today, the Pew Research says 50% of people who go to church are actually Christian.
Yeah, no, definitely not everybody who goes to church is actually a devout Christian. No doubt about that. You can say that about
there was a separation of church and state for a reason. Only so many people can understand what it truly means to be Christian, right? And I would say, yeah, put those people. We saw during the civil rights, people who truly believed what they believed. The in Islam and in Christianity, or the
I actually think
people who truly believe it are going to be our leaders.
No,
but the rest of us aren't going to be.
All right, let Young Don respond. Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I actually think the civil rights movement was one of the biggest things that hurt the black Christian community, because much like we see with the prosperity gospel today, we saw a corruption of the gospel for the sake of pushing, activism, black activism, trying to paint Jesus Christ as some kinds of a civil rights leader. That is essentially what they did, perverting the gospel. And I think that is a big part of the reason why, black people, are not yielding the peace and unity they should be yielding from the Bible, because they were misled by activists who take the Bible, pervert it for the sake of pushing their own agendas. And so I actually think, I don't think Martin Luther King, for instance, was like a great Christian pastor. You know what I mean? He was a great civil rights advocate, but I don't believe that he actually, I listen to his speaking. I don't hear a lot of the gospel in his speaking. I don't hear a lot of talking about hell and the eternal damnation that all of us are at risk at suffering. If
Warnock, I don't see Warnock. So even Christian people, I go to a African Methodist Episcopalian church, heavily involved in politics. I believe my pastor, Reverend Flake, was either in Congress or Senate at one point, and he was a pastor. They don't go to people who are non-Christian and start talking about the try and start talking about the scriptures or start talking about, they deal with politics. Right?
Yeah,
and they deal with
right, because
but they deal with a social Christian ethic, of course. Like
no,
I can bring up
you would agree as a Christian then, right, that the greatest threat to all of mankind, including black people, is the fact that we all are going to die, and then after we die we are judged, and upon judgment
the reward we get in heaven is what we use, how we deal with the life we have today. So we have to start talking about things we're going to deal with, how are we going to deal with life today? And I believe the family, we can both agree, the family is probably one of the most important things that we can, as human beings, engage with today.
I mean, the Bible says, seek the Lord and all else shall follow. If we address
seek ye, I understand. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, all things will be given to you. All things will be, everything else will follow.
So let me ask this: like, what good would it be for Dr. Martin Luther King to talk about hell when black people are already living in hell? Like, you're living in you're not.
If you read the Bible, hell is a much different place than Black America, brother.
Right, but I'm here living now. Like, I want to affect my living, right now. Like, I'm already living in hell in the system. I can't vote, so I'm not a real citizen. I'm paying taxes. I get, people can do whatever they want to me on the street, drag me out of my house, hang me up on a tree, and all this is like that is hell. Like, and I want to change this now. I can't change the biblical hell.
But let me put it to you like this: you think when you come before the throne of God and you are going to be judged, and it's going to be decided whether or not you're going to live forever in the lake of fire, you think you're going to care that you didn't get a chance to?
It only resonates with people who truly fear that.
You think you're going to care that you couldn't vote? You're about to spend eternity in heaven because you followed Jesus. Who cares you couldn't vote? Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do our best to try and resolve issues here on earth. Obviously, we got to eat, we got to sleep, we got to do our thing. I feel that, but
even Jesus said, "Give ye to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God." So that is implying you're dealing with the system, and you have to deal with the system, and you give to the system what you need. You need to be able to deal with the system accurately.
What the Bible says is that we are supposed to obey authority, because all authority in the earthly realm has been permitted by God. No one is in power that hasn't been permitted to be in power by God. For some,
of course, yeah.
I mean, we're supposed to be Christ-like. Christ was a big disobeyer of the earthly
family. I'm confused. What are you trying to talk about, Don? What are you trying to get at?
Initially we were talking about, what does Black America need to do in order to, see progress, right? Is that what we're talking about? See more progress?
We were talking about the Black family. So straight away, I'm just to make sure. Just to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about the Black family.
Are we talking about the Black family, or just talk about Black people in general? Because
I'm cool with talking. Yeah, let's get specific. Let's talk about the Black family.
Because that's what Annalicia, excuse me, because I don't want her, I friended her on Instagram. I gotta be charitable.
Nice.
Annalicia is saying Black men, and she's putting all the onus on Black men, and she's saying Black women at large are trying to do the best they can do, and Black men aren't following suit. And I think, all right, I'm gonna say my piece after that. I think that's the conversation that we're trying to have. What does a Black family need to do, and whose fault is it? Or not even fault. What do men and women in the Black family have to do in order to make it better?
They need to give their lives to Jesus Christ.
Agreed. But
we absolutely have to get political. We absolutely have to vote. I mean, Black turnout in Louisiana, for instance, was like, I think only 10%. Only 10% of Black registered voters went out to vote. That's abysmal. We absolutely have to get out.
The Black church is going to tell you to vote.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. How the Black church has been corrupted by politicians for the sake.
No.
Yeah, that's what I believe. What's the name of that one Black governor lady? Is it Stacey Abrams?
Stacey
Abrams,
right? Who tried to use the gospel to support abortion. That's what the Black church, and there were these two very famous Black pastors on the East Coast that were co-signing it, trying to say that a woman's right to choose is biblical. And that is what has happened to the Black church, unfortunately, when it dances with politics.
But that's not necessarily a problem because we all have free will. We all have free will. Free will is a biblical.
What do you mean it's not a problem? What do you mean abortion's not a
As
problem?
in, it is a problem. Abortion is a problem. More black babies are being aborted in New York than being born. Yes, that is a problem.
Right.
But the choice to have abortion existed before it was legally legislated. Before it was codified in law, abortion existed. It was always a problem, but people still always had a choice to it.
Sure.
Wait, can I cut in here?
We have the choice to kill each other. I'm all for, the American people voting on deciding on whether or not they want abortion to be on the table. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the church. This is an in-house issue, and there should be no debate within the church on where we stand on abortion. And that is my problem when we talk about like politicians and the black church.
But Don, we all have a choice to choose Jesus or not. We have a choice to do whatever we want. That's the power of being. We have a choice to choose. This is what I'm trying to, and I have a conversation with my father.
All right, go ahead. Wait.
My father is.
Before you go, I want to just make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, we don't talk about the same thing. Abortion affects the black family just as much as.
Okay, so
we can talk about that.
All right. Okay. Wait.
Does everyone else want to talk about that?
Wait, can I cut in really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was raised Catholic, so I was drilled on a lot of like the catechism. I know about all of this stuff, like specifically what scripture says that abortion is like sinful.
The book of Exodus says, "Thou shalt not murder."
But murder.
Okay, so you're gonna conflate it with that. Okay, but like beyond that.
I mean,
do you really think that a lack of religiosity within the black community explains systemic racism? Because black Americans are some of the most religious Americans.
That is, what do you mean by religious?
What they identify themselves as Christian. They go to church.
Don is saying that the religious introduction to black people was kind of corrupted or was only used as like a socio-political tool, and they're not following it in the way that a Christian ought to, I think is what his argument is. So even if a lot of them identify as Christian or go to church, they're not following like the teachings of Christ.
Okay, but like other demographics within this country have been seeing like a steady decline in religiosity and are becoming more secular, and they don't have the same issues that like the black community is facing right now. So I'm not. I wonder like why you think it's like religion that's undergirding all of this, all of these issues.
So the Bible says, right, that if you give your life to Jesus, right, you will have the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit will take residence within you, and you will not desire to do what is wicked and evil, and you will start to desire the ways of the Lord. And the way of the Lord says, "Thou shalt not murder." And so if you want to see less abortions, more Christian black women will not be aborting their babies. We've seen a decline of black people in the church in general. We've seen an increase of false prophets and false teachers within the church, especially in the black community. We've seen the proliferation of the prosperity gospel, which does not tell you about hell, which does not tell you about your sin, but instead wants to tell you how Jesus can make everything all better and make you rich and successful and give you everything you want in the world. These are the reasons why things like abortion are being rampant in the black community. If you're trying to tell me that you have black people going to church, praying every day, reading their Bible, and then going the next day shooting up the block or aborting their babies, that is not happening. That is not happening.
The only pushback I have on this is this has always been the problem, even at the onset of the church, even when Jesus was around. This has always been a problem.
Didn't the most fervent Christians burn down Muslim cities?
David was
torturing people.
King David was sending people to their death to have people's wives. We can go through all the. I feel like I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. I feel like the reasons why the only way we could get to that if people truly understood what it meant to live by grace, and I think that just goes beyond the spirituality of it. I think people naturally don't show each other grace, and in order to do that, and I believe Jesus is going to be a big impact in order to do that.
Let me ask you if you agree with this. Do you agree with this? Do you believe that abortion is wrong? Let me ask you that first.
Yeah, I believe the act of abortion is wrong.
Okay. Would you agree that if someone came to have a genuine relationship with Jesus, they will now become much less likely to want to have an abortion?
Yeah, I don't think that gets rid of they can still have an abortion.
Sure,
they still might have an abortion, even though they might be the most Jesus-loving person in the world.
Yes.
Because the fallen state of humanity, we're still in the flesh, Don. So we gotta, yeah.
Wait, see, all right. So this is what I would appreciate. Like, don't talk over me.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that yes, everyone is capable of sinning, right? You brought up some excellent examples with King David, right? He committed adultery and murder, right? With Bathsheba, we know this. Becoming a Christian doesn't mean you become a perfect person. You know what I mean? However, my question is, does getting to know Jesus, right, and having the Holy Spirit dwell within you, does that reduce the likelihood of you committing certain sins like murder? I believe it does.
Yeah.
And so if it does, the question is, how do we have less abortions happen if we had more Christian men and women?
Well, you keep conflating like murder and abortion, but those are not the same things. Like, that was why I asked you to cite scripture that said anything about abortion. Abortion is a relatively recent term. Even within Catholic doctrine, it's understood to be this thing called like the quickening, not death
isn't
even.
in the Bible either. I'm sure you don't believe that pedophilia is co-signed by Jesus.
Well, I'm not religious. I don't practice my religion anymore. I would consider myself atheist. But just kind of on that, like, I can't speak to religious institutions or trying to guide those, because those are internal structures that I'm not a part of, that I have no influence of, that are usually kind of authoritarian and top down. Like, at least in the Catholic Church, like, the Pope is going to decide the way that the Catholic Church is going to be structured and organized. So I can only bring it back to like policy, the government, which is all going to be secular. But like, to be fair, so if you think like, to move off the abortion point, because I don't really like abortion arguments, like, if you think abortion is murder, do you think that like women black women who are getting abortions should go to jail for murder?
Wait, so you asked me, first let's talk about whether or not abortion is spoken of in the Bible, right? So the Bible says that we were knitted together in the wombs of our mothers, which suggests that our personhood begins within the womb. Secondly, we have to define, okay, what is murder, right? Murdering is, we can agree, killing somebody. Is that murder to kill somebody?
Well, just as a real quick aside on this, because the Bible's not going to talk about like abortion being immoral, right? Like, if your wife is unfaithful and she gets pregnant by another person, like, the Bible has a description for literally ordering that woman to have an abortion, which seems strange that you would murder a baby if it's caused by infidelity. So I don't think the Bible considers abortion to be murder.
Wait. Stephen, you would have to quote me that verse just so I can be sure what you're talking about. You're saying that the Bible says if a woman becomes pregnant as a result of adultery, the baby should be aborted?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. You gotta like send me that verse.
Gotcha. Okay, so Numbers chapter 5, verses 11 through 31. I'm gonna speed run this super quick. So the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, if a man's wife goes astray and is unfaithful to him, so that another man has sexual relations with her, and this is hidden from her husband, and her impurity is undetected, since there's no witness against her, and she has not been caught in the act, and if feelings of jealousy come over her husband, and he suspects his wife and she is impure, or if he is jealous and suspects her, even though she is not impure, then he is to take his wife to the priest. He must also take an offering of 1/10 of an ephah of barley flour on her behalf. He must not pour olive oil on it or put incense on it, because it is a grain offering for jealousy, a reminder offering to draw attention to wrongdoing. The priest shall bring her and have her stand before the Lord. Then he shall take some holy water in a clay jar and put some dust from the tabernacle floor into the water. After the priest has had the woman stand before the Lord, he shall loosen her hair and place in her hands the reminder offering, the grain offering for jealousy, while he himself holds the bitter water that brings a curse. Then the priest shall put the woman under oath and say to her, if no other man has had sexual relations with you, and if you have not gone astray and become impure while married to your husband, may this bitter water that brings you a curse not harm you. But if you have gone astray while married to your husband, and you have made yourself impure by having sexual relations with a man other than your husband, here the priest is to put the woman under this curse. May the Lord cause you to become a curse among your people when he makes your womb miscarry and your abdomen swell. May this water that brings a curse enter your body so that your abdomen swells or your womb miscarries. Then the woman is to say, Amen, so be it. So this is like a literal order from a priest saying that if you are engaged in infidelity, you get pregnant, then they give you like a curse water offering essentially to cause you to miscarry.
Okay, and so, and what is your argument based on that verse?
I'm just saying that it's a reach in the Bible to say thou shalt not kill or thou shalt not murder extends to fetuses, when I don't think in the Bible like.
Okay, all right. So thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder. So you're speaking about a specific instance under which a crime was committed, right?
Infidelity, correct.
Okay, all right. And you are that verse. Now you read that pretty quickly, but what did it sounded as if this was some sort of a like a spiritual ritual. Like it wasn't, if again, I would have to read it for myself, but it didn't sound as if the baby was guaranteed to die, right? Only if the
woman committed infidelity. Yeah.
No, it's a bitter tonic made to, because they considered it like a curse to alleviate the curse. If you were raped and something and the baby was, let me just go through this. Go ahead. I'm gonna make sure my words are together.
Go ahead and explain it to me, because I just before I want to say anything, I want to make sure I understand what is being said, right? So
you drink the water brings a curse, and the bitter suffering will enter her. And if the offering is burnt, and if the woman has made herself impure and unfaithful to her husband, and then this will be the result. It's gonna bring a curse. It's gonna cause suffering, and her babies, and she's gonna miscarry.
Okay.
So if she's had sex out of her marriage, she's been unfaithful to her partner. The water is made to create it's like an abortion tonic.
Right.
And it's there to, it's there in the instance of infidelity.
And to clarify this for me, so are you saying that in the instance where she did not commit adultery, but the husband is suspicious that she committed adultery and got pregnant as a result of adultery, this same procedure would be undertaken, right?
Yeah, but God would protect the woman from the curse if she wasn't infidelity-ish, whatever the fucking word is.
Okay, all right, just from my understanding of that alone, it sounds as if it is God that would be the one that would be terminating the pregnancy, right?
Well, yeah.
Like, so
yes.
if a woman didn't commit adultery, her husband suspects that happened, and she's given a tonic, right? The baby would not die, right? That's what the verses are.
God would protect the baby.
Okay,
from the abortion tonic.
Okay, all right. So, one, in that instance, right? The Bible is suggesting that in this situation, God is the one who decides whether or not this baby lives or dies. And it is based on whether or not the mother committed adultery, right? And brought the
but the one who decides if the lady lives or dies is essentially the mother, because if she committed adultery, that baby's gonzo.
Right, if it is found out that she committed a crime. And but I don't see how this discounts the fact that that baby is a person or is alive.
Why would God kill a child just because of the sins of the parent?
Yeah, okay. He wouldn't.
You have to understand, right? So death, the way how we perceive death is not the way how death is communicated in the Bible, right? Death is not punishment. Punishment comes after. Death is essentially being removed from this earthly realm and being brought before the Father. Now, a baby that has not had a chance to live life and exercise faith in God is going to be living in paradise for all of eternity alongside God. As a Christian, this is what you believe in if you believe the Bible.
Well, damn. I mean, the baby didn't even get like a baptism or anything. Like, he's going to be not even born. He still has original sin and everything. You really think that's like a preferable outcome?
Original sin is a
Catholic thing.
Is Catholic. Yeah. That's not in the Bible. Yeah. So there's that. So.
Well, if that's the case, then shouldn't all abortion then be chill? Like, any baby you abort automatically goes to heaven and is like basically big chilling?
Okay, but in this situation, I'm saying it is God who makes a decision. It's God who makes a choice, and God cannot commit murder.
So you're saying some abortions are okay?
This is in the confine. So Don, this is in the con. Oh, go ahead, because I'm gonna go.
Murder, right? Murder is the unjust taking away of the life of a being that was created in the image of God, right?
And you're saying like a bastard child deserves to be aborted?
No, what I am saying is that God has every right to give life and take life at his discretion. That is completely different than us making an independent decision, right, to end the life of somebody else who was made in the image of God.
Agree.
Can I say that just going back to something that you said earlier, where you were saying that you didn't like MLK's particular interpretation of scripture and how he used it for his political ends? I agree with you, and for the exact reason that this conversation is even happening, because we could go back and forth all day over your interpretation of scripture, over the Old Testament, the New Testament, Catholicism, and we really should remove religiosity from these conversations entirely, because we are living in a like liberal secular democracy, and the insertion of religion in politics and policy to begin with is inappropriate because of these reasons. Because there's way too much disagreement, and there's a lack of consensus among like how to interpret scripture. It's not for lack of Bible literacy that Black Americans find themselves in these situations, or that abortion is legal or not illegal. Like Republicans are not getting rid of the right to choose to have an abortion or not because of scripture.
And Don, I think before you go, Don,
truth, right?
Andrew,
wait. Just because multiple people choose to interpret the Bible differently doesn't mean that there isn't an actual accurate interpretation.
I know, but everybody is going to say that they have the right interpretation. That's why government needs to be secular, and like there needs to be separation of church and state because of this reason. Exactly.
Well, one, the separation of church and state was established for the sake of keeping politics out of the church, not church out of the politics. So that's one. Secondly,
wait, hold on. Just to be clear, that's absolutely not true. We literally just came from the monarchy in England and everything. It wasn't
true. I think both can be true.
No, all right. Explain to me, Destiny, why what I just said is incorrect.
For a couple of things. So firstly, there are multiple times in the Bible, Genshin spoke of one of them. There are multiple times in the Bible where Jesus compels us to follow the laws of the lands that we live in. Render unto Caesar what is his, right? And also, when the United States was coming from England and we were declaring our independence and everything, I'm pretty sure we didn't want like the Church of England, like that type of like state religious institution to be a part of our government. It was part of ensuring like religious freedoms in the United States. I don't think it was because we wanted to keep politics out of the church.
I mean, Destiny, come on, bro. Where do you think we get our laws from in regards to like, not murdering, not kidnapping? All of these these are laws. These are morals that were established by the Bible. These are morals that were established.
Hold on, wait. First of all, they're not established by the Bible. These have been laws that civilizations have abided by for 10,000 years. It's not the first time in the Bible that these showed up, right?
There have always been civilizations that had a more what's the word? For every man for themselves, Wild West type of situation. Not every single culture has been ruled under the rules of like, murder is wrong, right? Not that is just not true.
They did have certain laws. If you murdered somebody, they had laws in certain in civilizations that had laws on murder.
Well, okay.
They punished murder. So okay. I'm only saying that we all understand that God has all given us an individual conscience, mm-hmm. which is why no one can say Jesus is not real, or say because I haven't heard about Christianity, it's not fair that I can't go to heaven or hell. We've all been given this moral conscience, but I just want to push this and say that yes, people have strayed from the original morality that was given, but mm-hmm. Our morals still have been codified into law, even though our original morals came from, like me and you believe, they came from God. Right. We have taken those morals and kind of changed them over ever so slightly to fit our own narratives mm-hmm. and our own self-benefit. And I think that happens to all of us. That's why there's the forever endeavor to be more like God by studying the scriptures and stuff. Yeah, we understand that. And for those who don't study the scriptures, they can still have those same morals, but they're not going to have the same understanding that those who study the scriptures are going to have, which is why it's harder to take scriptures and talk to people who are not accountable to us, are accountable to our scriptures. And that's why it was MLK and all. That's why MLK and even all religious figures, they don't go and start using their scriptures to try to dictate what people should do, based upon what they believe. They say even Jesus went to the Pharisees and say, how do you interpret the scriptures? What do you believe? He didn't start taking what he believed and start pushing on other people. He gave them a chance to.
Okay. So you the question, right? We started with the premise. You asked me, what is the solution to the problem in the Black community? I gave you a very simple answer: Jesus Christ, right?
And I agree. Then I would push it even further and say, we need to have more faith in Jesus Not because there's plenty of people. There's our faith needs to be tested and tempered.
I don't want to have to like do the Destiny thing where I'm like, oh my gosh, you've been talking for like last 20 minutes.
Do the Destiny.
Go ahead.
I don't want to have to do that. Okay. All right. So, the conversation, right, shifted when, Straighterade,
yeah,
is that what you go by?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
that's me.
She's a slippery one.
Yeah, Straighterade, kind of, switched the conversation to, okay, like abortion in the context of the Bible, and that's a whole different conversation, right?
Yeah, I really regret doing that. I didn't know it was going to lead to an abortion debate. I hate abortion debate.
My fans have been wanting me to talk to Destiny about abortion anyway. But the point is, I think the solution to the problems that the Black community is facing right now is faith in and obedience to Yah and to Jesus.
Okay, I disagree. I promise you that the reason that Black Americans are in the economic and social positions that they are today has very little to do with religiosity at this point, or like a failure to interpret scripture properly.
What do you mean by religiosity?
Being religious.
Being religious. High belief in God or whatever.
Okay, and what is your definition of being religious?
Adhering to the tenets of the Christian church in general, man. Just, all that. Like following the 10 Commandments. Following the teachings of Christ. Just that. That's pretty much Christianity in a nutshell, right?
Okay, and what is your evidence that obeying the laws of God and loving your neighbor as you love yourself and loving God with all your heart, mind, and soul will not yield a better situation for the Black community today?
Because we were doing that all throughout slavery. Christianity was forced down our throats. Like, that was the only book we were allowed to read. When we were allowed to read.
It's not that slaves have been Christian, it's that slaves couldn't even read, so they couldn't even truly understand what it meant to be. There was a black slave who was still allowed to read. But I'm just saying, it's still, we don't have to read the Bible for them to push it upon us. I'm not saying Christianity's bad or nothing like that. I'm just saying that we have had fervent belief in God, and we were still slaves. No, we didn't have fervent. I'm going to push back. We had a very baby-like faith. Like, we weren't intelligent. Once we were able to, and I know you're talking about the slave rebellions of Nat Turner, right? And once he was able to read it for himself, and he figured out that slavery is not tenable under true Christianity, we weren't, and that stuff wasn't, once we were able to tend for it ourselves, we were able to, that's why we had the rebellion in the first place. And he went around and started telling slaves, like, they're pushing to us certain parts of the scriptures. We were given we were given an incomplete faith in God, an incomplete belief system, and that's why we were stuck in slavery.
Black people were not enslaved because they were not praying hard enough, or because they weren't Christian.
I'm talking about during slavery. That's what Jason brought up. During slavery, we were given Christianity, but we weren't giving a complete Christianity. And I would say even the white people who are pushing this on us were practicing an incomplete Christianity, because even the forefathers didn't believe in slavery, even though they had slaves. But their conscience was they were being convicted because they were truly being real, like what Don is calling us to be. We were truly being like strong in our faith. We wouldn't have been, and the way we dealt with slavery wouldn't have been even there in the first place. We wouldn't have had gone through 400 years of
and I actually completely disagree with that, saying that Black people were these devout Christians, living in Africa, and that is why, we were mixing it. We were mixing it with Yoruba faith and all that.
There
were all kinds of pagan worship happening. And in fact, if you actually look into the argument proposed by people like the Hebrew Israelites, for instance, right, they actually go as far as to suggest that the Black people who were sold into slavery, they had actual Jewish roots, right? And I don't endorse the idea of the people who are identified as Jewish today are somehow like fake Jews. But what they do argue is that many of the Black people who were sold into slavery were of Jewish descent, who were being disobedient to Yah, their God. And we know that God will oftentimes use other people, non-believers, as a means of casting judgment on his people. And so we don't know that. We don't know to say definitively that the reason why Black people are in the position today has nothing to do with disobedience to God. That is you speaking on behalf of God. We don't know that. But what I do know, right? We can all speculate about how people were behaving hundreds of years ago, right? But what I do know is I look around today, and when I look in the Black community, I do not see obedience to God. So I'm just saying, how about we try that out? Yeah, if we do that for a little bit, and then we're still in the exact same position, then I'll concede and say, yeah, no, you're right. I guess it has nothing to do with God. But
He's saying in the
I don't think you'll
1920s,
ever
30s.
money. The Bible talks more about money than anything else.
it does
So
not
if
speak more about money than God. What are you
I mean,
talking
not more than them. You know, of course, no. The Bible speaks to Jesus. It's a revelation of Jesus Christ. But the Bible, when the Bible delves into principles, they delve into economic and societal principles more than moral. They'll interpret it through moral compass, but they delve into money. It's like one of the most spoken of things, if not the most spoken of things, in the Bible. And I will say that people have usurped that. They've taken the principles. Like you see a lot of these self-help people, New Age Christians. I even say Tony Evans is Tony Evans, right? They'll take principles from it and all the economic principles. I even had a guy come up to me and start talking faith to me and talking about things in the Bible, and he wasn't Christian. So people use those economic principles. If we truly live to those principles, we would have prosperity. A lot of those rich people like Dave Ramsey. Even Dave Ramsey has said this, Don. So I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna argue with this.
Not the Bible.
Huh?
Dave Ramsey is not the Bible. There are actually
I'm
a lot.
not saying Dave Ramsey is the Bible, but Dave Ramsey is his economic prescription can lead to a prosperous outcome, especially in the Black community, where we've always talked about economics.
I'm not denying the importance of money. I mean, we all got to pay our rent. But what I'm saying is,
I'm just saying it to push to your narrative. If we had more faith in God, all our problems would be solved, especially the economic.
We obeyed God. It's not just enough to think that. See, there are a lot of people walking around calling themselves Christian because they can say, I think Jesus is God, or I think the Bible is true. Are you living a Christian life? Are you obeying God, right? We know that there are consequences to living a life of sin. And so I think that the problem in the Black community, the biggest problem facing not just the Black community, but anybody who is dealing with issues, is the problem of sin. And so I am saying, and to deny that the Black community
wait. Can we move off the religious thing for just a second?
No,
because how come a lot of Asian people in this country or white people enjoy economic success and they don't give a fuck about Christianity? I promise
Facts.
you.
Yeah,
Facts.
but that is a problem. Your metric for success in this world is money. My metric for this success in this world is peace. And so you don't want money to
that's
be.
not my metric for success. You're
sounds
assuming that.
Even the peace, true peace isn't going to happen until Jesus comes back.
That
The Bible
is
speaks about
true.
this.
The Bible also talks about having peace by simply having rest in Jesus. Jesus is the fulfillment of the law. Jesus is the final Sabbath.
Yeah, but true peace on the realm of earth
I'm at peace.
that is plagued by the prince of the air. True peace doesn't happen for the 1,000-year period. Doesn't happen until Jesus comes back.
I'm not talking about world peace, right? The Bible says.
But
Jesus,
you are talking about world peace.
No, I'm talking about inner peace. I'm talking about peace in one's life. I'm talking about the problem that's going on in Black America, right? When we look at the crime, when we look at the single parenthood, when we look at the problem of abortion. And the Bible also promises that we're all going to have our daily bread, right? Every Black guy doesn't need to be driving a Mercedes, right? And sending their kid to Harvard to be able to say, oh, we've solved the problem in the Black community like that. I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
So what do you say to Black Americans who aren't Christian? Like Black Jewish people or like Black Muslims? Like, what do you say to them?
Come to Jesus.
And if they don't?
But what do you say to those people who have come to Jesus?
Can I finish answering her question? Okay. Yeah. What was your question?
I'm saying, what about it's a minority, but there are Black people who are not Christians like you. There are Black Jews, there are Black Muslims, there's Black people who subscribe to all different types of faith. There are Black secular people who are irreligious. They're atheists themselves. So what would you say to them?
Come to Jesus.
And if they say, I don't want to come to Jesus, but I shouldn't have to live in a state of constant economic deprivation in my own country, what would you say to them?
Say that again. You said that really fast.
What if I don't want to be religious, but I also don't want to be poor? Like, I don't think I deserve to live poor just because I'm not religious.
Well, I would say that Jesus has the solution to your problems. And if you don't want the solution I have to offer you, then I'll pray for you. But, I mean, You're asking me, it's like going to a dentist and saying, hey, I have this toothache, what's the solution? And the dentist tells you, oh, we need to fill the cavity. It's like, yeah, but I don't want to do that. It's like, all right, I guess ignore it. I guess suck on a lollipop, or I don't take.
Because you're presupposing that the cavity in this case is some sort of like lack of moral character or a lack of faith or religiosity or a belief in Jesus, and it's not. The cavity in this case is like a lack of resources and poverty.
I disagree with you on that. I think the presupposition is.
We'd probably disagree on a great many things, my friend. It sounds like, because I like. Y'all are very religious, and I mean, like, I was raised Catholic and stuff like that.
But I'm gonna say this.
You're Catholic, but that's not relevant to like me. Like, I'm not Catholic. Like,
but Don, I don't.
Well,
think
exactly. That's why these conversations need to be. They need to transcend religion.
Yes, it does, right? She's she's making it sound like I already tried that. I was Catholic.
Okay,
wait. Can I? Okay, wait, let me move. Hold on, because I don't think anybody even disagrees on this conversation. Okay, let's. Okay, hold on. So what Don is saying is that Christianity provides a pathway to success for communities. Don doesn't say that wait, hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Who just said they disagree? Will you disagree with me?
Yeah, no,
no. Wait, no, hold on. Let me finish explaining that you can tell me you're agreeing. Okay. Don is not saying that identifying as Christian or going to church is going to provide a path to success, but embodying the values that come from some Christian Bible are going to make you successful. So things like taking care of your family, taking care of your communities, adhering to the 10 Commandments. So like no gangbanging, no drug shit, no thug shit, no being infidelious or whatever, like all of this shit. If you follow these rules, it is a path to success for your community. When you look at a lot of the problems in the Black community, if these people were truly embodying the values that were in the Bible, they would probably be doing a lot better. Ergo, Don says that Black people abdicating their religion or not being good Christians would be one of the major reasons why they're on the path they are, and it would be one of the major ways to remedy those issues in the Black community. That's right?
I agree with that.
Okay.
Like 99%.
Yeah.
Right. And what I would say to that is that how come there are people of other racial demographics that actually aren't as economically or socially deprived as Black people are in America today, and they are not religious whatsoever? In fact, they're growing increasingly secular. Okay. So doesn't that kind of tell you that like a lack of religion or a lack of faith in Jesus? Or
so Aaron's counter argument is like, look at Scandinavia. There's a lot of secular people here. They do pretty well compared to, say, people in the United States in a lot of different ways. But that's a really secular society. So it seems like there are other pathways to. Go ahead.
They're heavily monogamous in one racial dynamic, and there's the they don't deal with the problems we in the West deal with.
So okay, I think brother, you just made a really good point that
no, it's not a good point, but keep going.
Yeah, he does make a really good point, right? So just because you don't identify as Christian, if you live a life in accordance with the moral wisdom of God, you are going to see the benefits of that. Sin is the problem, right? So whether or not you call yourself Christian or not, if you don't cheat on your wife, that's going to have a positive outcome. So that's one thing. So that's in Stephen bringing that up. And that's a problem we see in the Black community, right? We see rampant adultery, we see rampant fornication. A part of the reason I think you will agree that abortions are linked to unwanted pregnancies, right? Why are there so many unwanted pregnancies happening? And so
a lot of unwanted pregnancies happen because of a lack of access to comprehensive sex ed.
Well, but he would say that unwanted pregnancies happen on a religious reason because people are fornicating outside of like the sanctity of like a marital bond, right?
Exactly, right? People are just not having, like, as a woman, not having sex with somebody that you would be okay with having a offspring with. I would say that is just unwise, right? Because the possibility is always there. So it would be in your best interest that everyone you have sex with would be someone that if you got pregnant by them, you would be like, okay, yeah, cool. I can make this work. That would be the ideal situation.
And that's sex ed 101. That's sex ed everywhere.
No, okay, no, that's not. All right, you can call that sex ed if you want. Really, that's just a watered down version of what the Bible tells you to do, right? The Bible.
I'm just saying.
The person marry, right? The watered down version of that is only have sex with people you would consider married, right? You can call that sex ed if you want. I just call that watered down Bible. But yeah. So I do not. I'm not, and also I'm not saying that follow the Bible you get rich. follow the Bible and you break into the upper middle class. That's not what I'm saying, right? I'm saying follow the Bible and you will have peace in this world. You know, I don't believe money is, you know, having an excess of money is what equals peace in this world, right? I believe that your daily bread is what we all need, and God promises that you'll have your daily bread. And so, yeah, but you know.
Does anyone disagree with that?
Well, I think
yeah.
Or go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go. It's like, yeah, he's right on a certain point, but it's like, man, if you're so poor where you can't have your daily bread, I mean, the Bible doesn't give us anything to kind of, you know, remedy that. I would go as far as to agree with you that, yeah, if just churches in general provide people a way of networking on a common ground, which would be your religion, yeah, that would help. But I wouldn't say as far as the end all be all, or that it would provide, you know, any measure of peace for a general population. As like I said, we've had that before in the 50s, 40s, 60s. You know, we could read, we had the full faith in Jesus, and we were still facing a great deal of inner turmoil because of the society we're living in.
I would disagree with that. I would say just like how they brought up the facts earlier that 50% of the people that go to church aren't actually Christian or something like that. Someone brought up that statistic. I'm just pointing out the fact that just because people say that they believe that they are Christian doesn't mean that they're actually living a Christian lifestyle. But again, I offer that my solution, I've not witnessed that in my lifetime. I just think that would be the solution. If you think that, you know, us going from, so wait a minute, do you not think that fatherless homes is a part of the problem?
Yes, but it's one part, and Anna was saying that it was the number one problem.
If it's okay, I think it's a big part of the problem. I don't know, maybe it is. I mean,
I would say it's single parent households and like a lack of money.
Single parent problem household is a part of the problem. Do you not think removing that as a problem would help the overall situation?
Yeah, of course it would help. But I'm saying that if you're trying to look to the black family structure and like absenteeism and like divorce rates and marriage to explain
you're talking
systemic racism, like you're not going to be able to, because black families are not the only people who are broken.
If my father was Christian, my parents would not have gotten divorced. Like, what are you talking about? The Bible is the solution. Jesus is the solution.
Like,
yeah, but that's also a problem.
But I've seen Christians get divorced. So everything you're prescribing against.
Right.
The white people get divorced too. And white people are not as poor as black people on average.
Okay. What is your point? They get divorced. They also get married more. So yeah, they get divorced, but the black marriage rate is considerably lower than the white marriage rate. And again, my metric for success is not having equal bank accounts, like the same amount of the same number in the bank account, you know. But I mean, yeah. I mean, if y'all have a better. So what's your solution then? Since Jesus isn't doing none for nobody, what's your solution?
The thing is that I'm not trying to discount the personal enrichment that can come from religiosity, from spirituality, but I'm saying that can't be a replacement for systemic change and ways of addressing the problems within the black community. That's just one part of it. It's not ever going to overcome like poverty within the black community. Because you think when you say that like your only metric for success is money, it's not. You make it sound that like, you know, I'm particularly like materialistic, or like looking at like, you know, who can flex like the most luxury from between each racial demographic. I'm not. I'm talking just about like people having like basic needs met, and like a ton of people within these communities, quote unquote, these people live below the poverty line. Like they don't have anything.
So what's the solution, right? I gave my solution in 2 words. What's your solution?
And well, wait, do you think that your solution would be better because you gave it in 2 words, just Jesus Christ?
I'm just saying I could communicate.
So we were holding Annalicia to the same standard.
I communicate my solution very simply and clearly. Jesus Christ. What is your solution?
Economic policies is a solution.
Yeah, exactly.
Policing policies is a solution.
So okay, would policing policies help your life, brother?
The police policy not first of all quotas, because like there's no specific law targeting black people, but the way these laws are enforced do target black people, you know, by the officer's discretion. So removing their discretion to even have to do things like I have to get a certain number of tickets in or else, you know, I'm in trouble. That has to go. That removes black people from, you know, from the crosshairs of police officers. Get rid of the war on drugs. Everybody likes to get high. You may not get high, but white people, black people, we all like to smoke a little weed every now and then. Removing that is a huge benefactor. Like, why should I go to jail for years for doing something, for holding an eighth or whatever that this white kid does too? That's a huge thing. So that keeps black fathers in the home. Black fathers stay in the home. They're there to be a role model. Hell, if the black mother and the black father stay together, maybe the black father is able to go get a better job to provide it.
Arrested for having weed on them? Do you think that's what's the problem today?
That is a huge problem. Like, black dude, I think what's the stat? I don't remember the exact number, but I know that there are, for non-violent drug offenses, black people
do you have any
jails.
black friends that are dads that don't live with their kids?
Do I have any black friends that are dads that don't live with their kids?
Yeah.
No, but most of my friends don't have kids, so no.
Yeah.
Do you want to like?
So
ones that I do, they're not in jail.
Let's wait real quick. Wait. So there's not gonna be a one size fits all answer, okay? But I think the problem is that the religious answer is obviously not the answer either, because by your own admission, there are a lot of people that engage with religion or religiosity in a really negative way, right? Like, you've even got like gangsters will like kiss a cross and then do like a music video about shooting people up, or people will, like say a prayer before like doing drive-bys. Like a lot of rap culture had, even the gangster rap stuff, had a lot of stuff to do with Islam for a lot of those rappers, or Christianity or whatever. You see a lot of the imagery, a lot of the symbolism, and then there are a lot of religious people in the black community, but it doesn't seem like it's helped. So there's two potential solutions here. We've either got, they need to be more religious just in the right ways, which I don't even know how we begin to address those problems, right? Because every pastor, every minister, every archdiocese, everybody does things a different way. Or two, we look at how every other society in the world works, and we say, well, as long as people have economic opportunity and educational opportunities and safe places to live, access to like food and shelter, like, I think generally people do okay. They don't even need religion, right? So we look at Scandinavia, you look at white communities or Asian communities or any other communities in the United States, like, it's not like God is saving everybody but black people. It's that most people have like the economic opportunities and educational opportunities available to them to be successful. I think that's probably the thing that we can push on the most, because saying like just do God better is probably not the answer that's going to work, would be my guess.
Yeah. If you want, just like, because I was trying to get at when you said like my answer is 2 words, it's Jesus Christ. If like 2 words, okay, go vote. That's one way to start solving problems. Like I think Jasheen pointed out earlier that like not a lot of Black Americans are voting, not nearly enough. And then you have to move beyond that. You have to understand like why aren't they voting? And a lot of the reason why is that just like poor people everywhere in this country don't vote.
Yeah.
And so if you want to ask me like what my solution is, it's probably something along the lines of reparations, economic and financial redistribution, funding schools better.
Money.
Wait, okay, hold on, wait, don't do that. Okay, hold on, wait, ignore hard things, right? Wait. The real answer is it probably needs to be reinvestment into structures that pay future dividends, right? So education is important because when you're in school, you're not having kids. When you're in school, you're increasing your future earning potentials. And when you've got kids that are going to school, you free up the parents to do things like, so education is a really big thing because it empowers people to be successful in the future. Making access to home loans is really important. Like Jashin, how do you pronounce your name? I'm sorry.
Just call me Josh.
Josh. Okay. So what Josh said earlier was really important too, that generational wealth is oftentimes passed on through home equity, right? And in 2007, the United States recovered largely from the housing crisis. Black people did not. And home equity is one of the biggest ways you pass wealth on to your children. So making homes available or more affordable to Black African-American families could be an important step forward. Like, these are the types of things. I don't know if I'd say reparations, because I know what you were about to say. You ever give money to a druggie or whatever, they just go and blow it over. That's probably true. I don't care about that. But at the very least, there should be some reinvestment made into communities to create these structures that pay future dividends in terms of how children and people engage with their community.
And I wouldn't disagree with that. I'm just saying
but
I think that you see that happening more when people are following Christ. Personally.
On that point though, you just in response to like my answers and like my concrete solutions to these things, you were like, are you serious? Have you ever seen what happens when you give Black people money? Like, I feel like no matter what I could say to you, you were going to say that, like, that's never, that, like, my solution to...
Hold on, wait, be careful. I said that. I might have strawmanned him. He might not have going to say that. Sorry, go ahead.
He asked me, he said, have you ever given a black person a lot of
I've
money.
never
or
said
something like
that. I never.
He didn't
said
say that. I finished that statement for him. I cut him off before he said that. So
What were
he
you
might
going
not.
to say
Sorry,
then?
yeah, go ahead.
I said, have you ever given a broke person a lot of money?
I heard black
okay.
person. I'm sorry. If you said broke person, then yeah, I agree. Whatever.
Yeah, broke people usually do, throw away their money. I mean, they've never had the experience of having it. So once they have it, it's kind of, goes quick on frivolous things. But to kind of, agree with you a little bit, Don. Like, yeah, let's say, I'm trying to agree with him a little bit here. If black people were in the church more, then yeah, we could network more, okay, through Jesus, okay, and we could do things like putting our money together, practicing group economics. Like, let's say I can't, buy, let's say, this apartment building, but 100 of us in the church could. And then we could take that, fix it up, rent it out, blah, 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 and build equity on that. I'll give you that the church can provide those facilities for those things to happen and create upward mobility.
I mean, they do that. They do that in Queens, New York. Alan A&Me, they have like apartment complexes. They have geriatric facilities, and they facilitate that all through the church.
Right. I mean, like, as
and also
Skelly's talking about.
Circular, because then those funds circle back into the church because they're paying tithe and it's helping the community facilitate itself.
Right. I mean, like, at the scale he's talking about, it needs to happen more. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it definitely could happen more if more black people are in the church and networking.
Yeah, so then I asked Don, why did you say have you ever given a broke person money? Were you talking about them mentally broke or actual broke?
Mental. No, I mean, have you ever given somebody who's never had a lot of money?
Yeah.
Okay, and what happened?
They went and bought food and ate.
That's not a lot of money.
I mean, so what do you mean a lot of money? You mean like?
Wait, let's shortcut this. Let's shortcut this because we know with this, right? So anybody that's ever worked in service before, I worked in service. When people got their tax refunds, this money wasn't going into like education plans. This money wasn't going into like future investment. This money was going towards big screen TVs. That's not even black people. That's everybody. Like, yeah. What?
But what's wrong with that?
Well, the problem is that I don't think that the goal isn't to give people money to like give them short-term like material relief. It's to like you want to invest in communities so that their long-term outcomes start to reach parity with other communities. You want their children to be successful. You want the moms and dads to be successful. The households to make money for everybody to like be doing better, not just like be able to buy a bunch of stuff for a month. All right, let's put it like this. How much money did you get during the COVID whatever?
$2,000.
It was
$1,200.
It was a lot. A lot of people.
I got a little bit more.
A lot of people got like 35,000. Like I used to be an account auditor for Bank of America like not too long ago, and a lot of people got like $35,000, $25,000 loaded on their card. And I was straight up.
Wait, 3,500 or 1,000?
$35,000, $25,000, like that amounts loaded onto like their cars at times. And yeah, they blew it on frivolous stuff, man. It's ATM withdrawals for like thousands of dollars and buying Prada and Gucci bags and stuff like that. Like the state of California had to put a stop on ATM withdrawals and spending it anywhere.
Wait, where were they getting that much money from? That's an insane amount of money.
The state of California, the state of California giving people that much money for COVID relief. Absolutely, bro. Like facts. I was an account auditor.
Are you talking about are you including unemployment insurance and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were just saying like stimulus checks and shit. Okay, never mind. I understand. Okay, that's possible. Okay, I don't know what the average earnings was. But
my point is, right, so $35,000, that's a lot of money, right? And they didn't, they didn't change the course of their, family bloodline with that. The point I'm making is, if we're talking reparations, right? You want to talk reparations? We talking big money. I'm saying if you think handing every black family $50,000 is going to fix things, I think you're sadly mistaken. We got to talk in the numbers, maybe upwards of $250,000, $500,000 each. I'm saying
I don't think the amount matters. I really don't think the amount matters because I've seen people.
That's why I don't think reparations is the way to go, because
the thing is that
I disagree. Hold on. Let me go. I don't think that
the amount of money you need to shell out to quote unquote even the playing fields would be, in the trillions, right?
Yeah, you should definitely, if you've taken, especially if you've stolen, even the Bible says if you've stolen, you have to give 7 times more. So if you've stolen, you should definitely get something back.
Brian Morass, thanks for the $100, my dude.
Truly intelligent response to someone stealing or taking unjustly. So I'm not gonna push back against something that is duly owed, but I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter what dollar amount it is. Give the money back.
I mean, I don't know.
Even $100 used right over generations can change people's lives.
They didn't steal trillions of dollars from black people, right? They stole
a good amount. It was in the billions.
Yeah,
I think in the millions.
Well, hold on. Be careful. Just be careful. Wait. On this conversation, be careful. There's 2 different arguments being made. You can make an argument morally that black people are owed reparations, which I actually think there are decent arguments for, but that's separate from the argument that reparations will fix the black community. You could make the argument that because you could say simultaneously, reparations probably are owed to the black community, but if they got a bunch of money, it'd be wasted. They're not going to build, generational wealth. That could be the case, right?
How do you put a price on time spent? How do you put a price on families divided? How do you put, I'm saying, how are you going to put a price on that to come to a fair number in terms of, this is what black people are?
Those are 2 separate issues.
So what I'm saying, right? You're just going to come up with a number because that's what it would be. There's no way to accurately calculate how much, quote unquote, black people are owed. We just got to come up with a number.
It's done. Yes, there is. It's been done. We know how much.
How much?
I think it's in a few. It's like a few billion. I've heard the conversations before amongst current day black activists, and they calculate land. They calculate how much land has appreciated, and how much people have been if things have damage and insurance payments that never were paid out, especially when Tulsa was burned down. Insurance payments weren't paid out. People are due a specific amount, and people have calculated that.
How did they come to that number? I mean, I'm saying one black. You don't know which one of those black people could have been the next.
But you know how you can deal that out. So here's a solution. You know how you can deal that out. You can deal that out by increasing wages, proportional in those communities where most people live. You can increase those wages, or give. It's like what people do. They give bonuses, and you can just divvy it out evenly. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just saying. It doesn't matter which family gets.
Do you own a business?
Huh?
Do you own a business? Do you employ people?
We have a church, and we have we have a church. We facilitate a church.
Okay, how much?
I tutor.
How much do you pay the employees at the church?
We pay them what we make. It's proportional to what we can get.
Why don't you just double it then?
The funds aren't there.
I'm saying the problem starts with us, right? The change begins with us. Just double everybody's pay.
I see you and I agree with you, but getting rid of reparations, giving somebody what is owed to them is still a just thing. That is a biblical thing. If you steal, you have to give back, or it will be taken from you.
How much money was stolen from you?
It's hard to say, man. Even with all the.
I don't think it. So here's my argument. I don't think it matters. I really don't think. I think if you gave me $100 and I use that $100 properly, I can change the course of my family's life. I've seen people start businesses. How
much money did you get? How much?
If I want to start
during the COVID thing is what I'm saying. Did you?
I got $2,000. I said I got $2,000.
Did you change your family's life with the $2,000?
Yeah, I can. I got a lot of equipment. The $2,000 is allowing me to speak to you now. The $2,000 got me all this equipment.
Okay, and the brother said that there's some people who got $35,000 and ain't do nothing with it.
They slackers. We don't talk about them people. We can't keep
thousands of dollars to every black person. Is that what you're saying?
Well, here's something that's better. We could give, if it was possible, like we did for Native Americans, we could do free college. If it was possible to prove what black person was a descendant of slave and wasn't, which at this point I don't think it is, we could do something like free school. So that way, if you want to apply yourself, if you want to make the personal decision to better yourself, yeah, it's a free school. Free.
I would go even farther and say, even if you were mixed race and you had a parent that was ADOS, you should get your due too.
Yeah. Okay.
about that. Because what if the half of your family that's white participated in
Who
slavery?
cares? Y'all
I
half
mean,
your family was wrong.
yeah, people. Like, there's a lot of white people I saw who went to college for free because they were like a 6 Native American.
Like,
It's like the
and
white.
that's based upon my faith in God. If you stolen from part of my family, you owe me.
No, I'm saying, but shouldn't the white side of your family pay the black side of your family? Right?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, you should anyway. But they probably are. They y'all family. We're married.
Yeah, no, but no. The point I'm making, I agree with Steven and I agree with Joshin. Is that how I pronounce your name?
You can just call me Josh, man.
Josh, yeah, I agree with you guys both in the sense that, the idea of my problem is putting a check in the hands of indiscriminately just because you have black skin. I don't think that's the solution. I do agree that putting money into resources, right, like education, recreational, centers and things like that. I think that is definitely the solution. My argument, however, is just that a country filled with, selfless, loving people who are following Christ is more likely to get that done than a country that is run by, selfish, materialistic, self-centered people who are just
because we would forgive the debt.
Well, wait, can I respond to that? Because I was the one who mentioned reparations, and I think he misunderstood what I meant when I said reparations, because I think right now, like, the idea is that, like, most people, when they hear reparations, they think, I think some anxious people think, like, oh shoot, like, black people are going to be empowered to, like, go knock on the doors of white people and stick their hand out and ask for money. That's one way to look at reparations. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about, like, the moral claim to, like, should black people be given money based off of, like, whether or not they were descendant of slaves in this country. I would say, like, wholesale, like, there's a ton of policy recommendations that could basically function as reparations, because if we're talking about, like, making just, like, massive investments in rebuilding these communities, these cities, and, like, creating millions of jobs that pay a living wage, making public colleges and universities tuition free, like, targeting federal resources to the areas where it's needed most within black communities and where it's the most impoverished, like, that's what I mean. I feel like that's what I'm talking about could function as, like, basically reparations to black people. But I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used that term, because again, it, like, started this conversation. It's more of, like, a moral argument. But yeah, that's what I meant.
Well, that's why I'm saying the moral argument is different than, like, will it improve communities? Because if you want to make the moral argument, technically, it doesn't matter what they'll spend their money on. They should have the right to buy and waste it on whatever they want. If it's their money, it's their money, right? An employer doesn't pay their employee wages based on whether or not they're going to spend it soundly. They pay it to him because it's money owed for labor, right? So if you want to make the moral argument for reparations, it has nothing to do with whether they spend it. But that's what I'm saying. It's like a separate kind of thing. Yeah,
like, the moral claim is there. Like, morally, do black Americans deserve reparations? Of course. But, like, the reparations claim really no longer functions as, like, an actual political demand for, like, land or territory. It usually operates as kind of just, like, a claim for, like, power and recognition and, like, trying to shift the landscape for black Americans to. Yeah, that's what I think. So yeah, I feel like when people argue,
where are you getting that notion?
What? Because I feel like when I hear about people making the case for reparations, it's staked out on a moral claim, not really so much as, like, sound economic policy.
Yeah, I don't think, like, I mean, when you've got, like, NBA players going broke, like, 5 years after being out of the NBA, I don't think that, like, just throwing money in a community is going to, like, get rid of a lot of the problems. The problems are deeper than just money, right? And I think actually, to circle back really far around, that's kind of what I think Don is getting at, is that there are poor communities that do okay. It's not just a matter of material wealth. I think young Don was getting at more of kind of like a spiritual decay that's happened among a lot of people. So it's possible to be a poor group of people that have strong family values, that live their lives in moral ways, they don't have children out of wedlock, and they still do okay, even though they don't have access to the same material wealth that other groups in the United States might have access to.
I think the spiritual decay is cyclical. I think it happens constantly throughout history. It's going to continue to happen until Jesus comes back. So I don't think we can combat this. We can mitigate against the spiritual decay. This is me speaking to you and Don. I think you can't combat the spiritual decay, but there's and there's ways for us to mitigate that spiritual decay. And we can't go to people who do not want to be spiritual and tell them to be spiritual, because only God can tell them to be spiritual.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm not in the business of forcing anyone to do anything, but I'm just saying, like, if you ask for a solution and they give it to you and you don't want it, then that's all I can do. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So then, but there's other. You can now prescribe. I think you can prescribe that. They don't accept that, but you can also prescribe other things as well. Jesus wasn't just telling people to. I mean, Jesus did more than just tell people to have faith in him and the Father, and the Holy Spirit.
Like what?
He just told people to how they treat one another, how they deal with. He talked about politics. He talked about economics in his parables. He talked about how you deal with your daily life. He talked about systems he talked about everything. Jesus talked about everything.
No, I disagree with like using the trying to separate. I disagree with like trying to separate, how you treat your neighbors as like separate. That's exactly my point.
I'm not saying it's separate. It's all. But that's not what I'm saying. It's not separate.
He's saying that if you see, here's a problem, right? Here's a problem is when you're trying to cherry pick or take what you like from the doctrine of the Bible and say, okay, well, Jesus talked about how we treat each other, right? Treat each other lovingly and that this is what people who like try to support the abortion narrative using the Bible do, right? They talk about the fact that we're supposed to be kind to each other and how sometimes people who are pro-life often speak in a manner that is unkind, right, to people who are pro-abortion, right? So but that is like, I'm saying don't do that. I'm saying start first with Jesus, right? Start first with following Jesus, and that's the thing, I don't see following Jesus as a religion, right? Following Jesus, the religion, when you look at other religions, they're work-based, salvation-based. They're about following a set of laws, right? That is not what and rituals and practices and customs, right? I'm all about following the guy. I'm all about following Jesus, right? That's what I believe it means to be a Christian. And I believe that if you follow Jesus, right, all of your problems will be solved. Not when I say that, I don't mean, oh, now you're going to have, all this money or, all of this upward mobility financially or any of that. I don't think Jesus promises any of that. When I look at what makes people unhappy, I mean, I heard this, Steven, you were talking about this, or Destiny, what would you prefer me calling?
Steven is good. Steven is good.
Okay, yeah. I heard that interview you had, I can't remember, I think it was Valuetainment TV, or it was with that chick, the blonde chick, a little bit older, but
Jebediah or something was on, yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about how like you were comparing your family, right? That the Latino side of your family, that doesn't have as much, right? The basement floods when it rains type deal, to the side of your family that does very well financially. And when you ask yourself who seems happier, it's the one with less. And arguably it's because they have, they're placing their focus on things that have nothing to do with money, right? Things like, excuse me, I thought I was gonna sneeze. It's still there. Yeah, but I mean, I think everyone gets where I'm going with this, right? And so it's like that's what you get when you follow Jesus, right? You get that kind of peace and fulfillment. And I honestly believe if the Black community as a whole, like if you could wave a magic wand and everyone had that, we wouldn't even be having this conversation about racism and things like that, because wouldn't really be worried about it, wouldn't be stressed about it.
I think Jesus came to preach grace. The new covenant was a grace is faith which will influence good works. And I think just going to non-Christian people and telling them to follow Jesus, they're going to take the works and it's going to become another religiosity impact. And I feel like the failure of the church has been allowing the world to influence them, or they are unintelligently following the faith, right? They're being bad faith actors in a lot of circumstances where they're getting all the emotion and all the impact, but they're not really living by truly being a grace-led Christian, or being a true new covenant Christian, right? Which is beyond a religiosity. Then Jesus came back to fight the religiosity, right? I feel that politics is. I said this on Prime's panels. I think the politics can be a form of religiosity, where you idolatrize. There's a form of idolatry the way you're in dealing with the system, and your ideologies have become your it has become your idolatry. So, but I think that's going to be inevitable, because even when God first came to deal with the Jews, they rejected him, right? And they sent Moses to be the person to be the liaison and to be the speaker for all of them. And they still fell in the same tropes at the very first instance, right? Of freeing the slaves, right? Freeing them from Egypt. So I agree with you. Everyone should have more faith in Jesus, right? But there are ways for us to be, because this is how I think of, there's people who follow Jesus and the people who don't, right? And we're all roommates until Jesus come back. And there's ways for us Christians to speak to people who are non-Christians and say, and deal with it, like Andrew Warnock, right? There are ways for him to speak to people beyond just a Christian frame. He's going to be heavily influenced by his Christianity, but there's way to speak beyond the religiosity, right? And that's where I think, and so that's what I say to Don. And Straighter Aid, I disagree with you. Like you said, we disagree on
lots of things.
Yeah, and I think that we're gonna keep running into this. It's gonna be a stalemate continuously because no one's willing to show each other grace.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I appreciate that you're able to like have the conversation with me without it devolving into like a screaming match like it usually does with Anna. Yeah.
Wow.
Yo, is she always like that?
Yeah, she's special.
Yeah, but I think we can deal with her in a pleasant manner despite her devolving into nonsense. Said this on Chud's I said this to Chud. The viewers don't need to yell at Redacted. We don't need to get in the mud with the pigs, right? When Annalicia when Obama
Wow.
said they go
It's a
low,
great
we go
phrase,
high.
man. No,
When they go low,
If
we
they go
high.
low, I'll go lower. That's usually how it works.
See that?
for me,
But then, hey, then I can't wait till Jesus comes back. That's why I say
no, to me, it's like the onus is like never on people like Anna or whatever to not
never
bring
gonna
up
be on
stuff
them.
like that.
It's never going to be on them because they're always, and even to two redacted people that we just had to kick out. It's never going to be on them because there's a level of unaccountability, or they're just being themselves. That's just them, right? Anna said, yeah, I'm not like this in my real life, but when I'm with y'all, I'm going to be a certain way because I don't know you. So
Yeah,
she's never going to
turn the other cheek.
She's never going to be she's not going to be like us. So, and this is like the you know what this is like? This is like diversity and inclusion, right? We want them here, right? But they got to be like us, right? We're only inclusive when they're like us. Like what? No. And it's the same thing goes for black people in corporate America, and any other racial group, right? White people are willing to allow us to be in their spaces, but we got to act like them in order for them to truly accept us. Otherwise,
I'm fine with Anna being in the conversation, but she tries
brother.
to tell other people who can and cannot be in the conversation. That's why I have a problem with Anna participating.
Yo, to
she can
be
be in
fair,
the
we're not
conversation
combative,
since we
man.
ignore
either.
her antics, like we ignore yours, or we ignore Don's, or we ignore Steven's, or we ignore. I know, Don. I'm not saying you got antics, bro. Yeah, but like we ignore each other's antics in order to have the conversation. That's why you see Destiny being as charitable as possible to all these crazy people that he wants to continually have conversations. And it shouldn't be like the community and the orbiters colliding with these people. You know,
All I
just
see is
'cause we don't
Destiny
like what
playing
we say.
Factorio.
Base.
All I ever see is him playing Factorio.
Good. That's all you deserve to see.
But when we attack Destiny in his space, yeah, he gonna fight back.
Yo, shut the
Because
f- up.
it's his space.
Uh-oh.
And
Shut the f up. Terry, who are you talking to?
Ozzy.
what's
Uh-oh.
going on? And Cherry, I'm gonna be mad at you because you called me a troll streamer when I came in and asked a simple question in your stream. Let's get into drama if you don't come in here to start drama. We can do that. You want to come in here and start drama, or you trying to ask me a question?
When was this?
This is a long time ago. I'm petty.
Yeah, so who the fuck cares? What are you talking about?
I'm just.
This had to be like a year ago.
You're here, so I'm talking to you.
Are you holding on to some year-old shit? Go ahead, bring it up.
I'm just saying, you're gonna bring up drama. We can bring up drama, but
okay, then bring it up. What happened a year ago?
This is my gripe with you now. When Annalicia came in, you got in the mud with her as soon as you came into space.
Yeah, because she was fucking obnoxious.
So what?
I'm gonna be obnoxious back. What's your problem?
Okay, there you go. And now you look just like her. Silly, goofy.
What's wrong
with that?
To do is like people escaping consequences like that.
No. What's no? You tell me. What's wrong with me being really assertive? Me being a little bit of a fucking bully. If I'm sticking up for someone not being dismissed on the base of their skin color. What the fuck is wrong with that?
Congratulations, you look goofy.
I look goofy?
Yes.
So that's it.
Yes, I'm asking you.
Doesn't matter if I'm doing the right thing. It doesn't matter if I'm doing the right thing and I appropriately and positively shut her down. It's just it comes off goofy to you, so I just shouldn't.
If you thought that was positive, I've seen you.
You think it didn't come off really f***ing clear what she did?
I've seen good Cherry. That wasn't good Cherry. I've seen it. We've seen it. You've been around in this space long enough. Like when we call people to be better, like we were lecturing. I'm gonna just say her name. Freak redacted. When we're telling Lab to be better, in all those instances, you're a smart individual. Just be more confident in your positions. We're telling her to stop saying stupid stuff, right, and stop engaging in conversations. Yet we're doing the same thing we're doing. Now it's just becoming a roundabout. Yeah, it's good content. But at the same day, like everybody's like we're living less now. We stress ourselves out and we're living like a lesser life because of it. I'm not gonna take years off my life rolling around with Lav every time she wants to engage in stuff.
Obviously they bring us down a notch.
Now that we've had the time to analyze her patterns and her history, she told us who she was multiple times, and yet we kept attacking her on it. So that's like telling a drug addict. You know, we're trying to attack the alcoholic. Stop being an alcoholic. Stop being an alcoholic. But we know she's an alcoholic. So
how are you going to put their behavior on like alcoholism? That doesn't make any sense.
That makes complete sense. I'm saying
their behavior in comparison to an addiction.
Yeah, it's the way she herself said, "I come here to be disrespected, and it's addicting to me." She said that.
Thing I'll say is that like. I feel like I could make the same case on you. Is that how come instead of you taking a bunch of time to defend Anna for basically race checking me, I don't understand why you can't just say like, yeah, she shouldn't be doing that, and like we move on.
It's at the beginning
of this conversation when you came in, you were
like she's fully able to defend herself. I can do that. I can say she's not racist. She sounds racist because we've heard racist people say the same thing she said, so it sounds similar. So she seems kind of, it's kind of nasty when we hear her talk. Yeah, but I'm not gonna say she's racist because of all the other things I haven't seen in her life. She hasn't done anything besides her words. Her life hasn't been something that attacks black people, right?
Besides
she
her words, isn't that how
people.
Most black people are attacked?
Oh my goodness.
What? No. Jerry, Jerry, you get what I'm saying, or am I talking?
You're saying that you don't think she's racist besides the words that she says.
Yeah, she says a bunch of dangerous things like Kanye and Dave and.
So do you think that Kanye is not racist?
Oh God.
Oh boy.
No, I don't think he's racist. I think he's just reckless and he says a lot of dangerous stuff to get people's attention, and he's just being unapologetically himself. To the detriment of everybody else. You heard Fenty.
Isn't it fair?
Wait,
isn't it fair to ask people to be a little bit better than for themselves?
Honestly, I feel like you just don't like Anna. I think you don't like Anna. I think that you think that I'm someone who's more aligned with you, so you're holding me to like a fucking higher standard for no other reason than that.
Yes, that's the only reason I can have.
And Jerry, you don't think that
you want to be a pig, Jerry? You want to roll around in the mud with the pigs? That's what you're saying to me. She's being condescending, so I can be condescending back. That's what you're saying to me. And that's what a lot of the gripes I have with a lot of the... If Destiny wants his community to be non-misogynistic, we can't play around with misogyny. Unless it's like everybody's going to do it. You can't have it both ways.
No, misogyny is assuming that
misogynistic
every
about-
woman behaves in a certain way.
Get into the weeds of
Whether
the
you
example.
like it or not, there are women like me who just pop off sometimes. I'm a little temperamental. I'm a little angry. If you want to be
Okay,
less
so-
misogynistic, make room for me to exist
I'm not
in
saying
this
it was
way.
misogynistic. I'm just saying it was an example of we're calling.
No, you're saying my
we're calling-
behavior is misogynistic, that I'm emboldening it, right?
No, I'm not. I didn't
You
say
having
that at all.
higher standards of me and just me in this
think you're not a good
situation, I
listener,
think is
'cause
you being
of
fucked
now.
up.
I don't think you're a good listener, but that's based upon now. I'm saying I made an example of comparing how your conduct of telling Anna to be better, but you're dealing in the same conduct. It's the
No,
same
who
as
told Anna to be better besides not be fucking racist?
telling somebody not to be racist is telling them to be better. I think.
Okay, did I behave racist? Like,
You
where am
make-
I a hypocrite
I
here?
think we all make edgy jokes every once in a while. I don't know your history, but have you ever made an edgy racist joke?
Probably. I don't think what she did
Okay,
was
so
making a
then
joke.
I don't think you have the ground. Take the plank out of your eye before you start telling other people.
No, get your Bible shit off me.
Listen, you dealing with a real deal right now. You dealing with a real deal. I've been raised in the listen, I listen to
You
all of them.
understand the difference
And
between me
I'm
making
better.
an edgy f***ing joke and
I don't think you should
between
be
Anna
doing edginess
dismissing
and tell
Erin
other
on
people to
like the
not be
color of
edgy.
her skin?
Anna's
You're
being
giving me
edgy. She's saying she gonna
unreasonable
be edgy.
expectations. That's what you're
Calling
doing.
straight away white is edgy.
That's
No,
not
wait,
edgy.
hold on. This is a little silly, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, no, hold on. I'm saying you're being a little silly. Anna's not being edgy. Anna's being like either borderline or just flat out racist, right?
Okay, borderline is edgy to me. She's on the edge of so there you go with your word.
So when
She's on
Anna
the-
says that like
not
she's
doing-
okay
she's
with
not doing
people,
humor,
Sure.
but she's being just as edgy as us.
so is
She's
it
just being
humorous? Yeah. So
aggressive in it.
is it humorous when she's saying things like maybe black women should consider aborting all male black babies?
He only said that as in response to.
Wait, what?
She said that in response. We heard her explanation before.
I know I've heard
edgy.
it, but like, could I
Yeah, so
like
we
if
know
I
the-
want to reduce the crime rates of like 10 major metropolitan areas in the United States, and I say maybe we should just ship all those black people to Mexico, am I like just giving a solution, or would you say, oh, it's a little sus?
You sound like Abraham Lincoln, and you sound a little sus.
So then why
But
doesn't
it's-
she sound a little
right,
sus?
We're not gonna say you're racist. We're gonna say you're on the edge. You need to pull back. That's what I forgot. Oh my god, why can't I remember his name? Josh. Who was the black activist who told Abraham Lincoln, don't send all the black people to
Liberia or something, or
Marcus was not Marcus Garvey.
not Marcus Garvey. It was oh my god, why can't I
I'm
remember
drawing the
his name?
blank too, bro.
Dang, oh my god, see that? This is what I feel bad right now. I'm the black guy and I can't remember the I hear his name all the time. Shame on me, bro. Shame on me. But there is a guy calling Abraham Lincoln to be better. He wasn't calling
Frederick.
him racist.
Someone in chat says Frederick
He said,
Douglass.
don't send, what was it?
Someone in chat, two people in chat said, one guy says Preston Garvey, one guy says Frederick Douglass. I don't know.
Frederick Douglass. Frederick
Okay,
Douglass.
there you go.
Someone who said Preston Garvey is stupid.
Okay,
Sorry.
he's stupid. There you go.
That'd be
Hey, M, you just got called stupid. So there you go. I'm gonna be honest. When you
I
call
love
that
you,
guy
brother,
stupid in my
but
chat,
I was
also
a little
you're
dumb.
looking
I
a little
love you,
goofy. But just saying.
I'm a little stupid too, because but I didn't remember his name. But yeah, he was telling Abraham Lincoln to be better. He didn't call him racist and just start shouting at him.
Okay, I think you're giving Anna a level of charitability that borders
I
on
am.
dishonesty.
No,
Yeah,
I-
we're
I-
And
not
you're
talking
being
about what he was
uncharitable to me. You're giving no standards for her, and you're putting every standard
No, I'm
on
being
me.
standard. I came to Destiny and said we're giving her fire, and I say she's kind of grifting in a way, and she shouldn't do that if she wants to be taken seriously. She came to Destiny and said, "How can I make my presence better? Should I just be red pill?" I'm like, what are you doing? You shooting yourself in the foot. Of course, I didn't say that to her. I said that to Destiny.
Wait, why do you worry about her shooting herself in the foot? Are you like,
Because if she wants to be a good spokesperson and
you're
if she
just
wants to have
rooting for
good
her,
influence-
regardless of what her beliefs are, right? She could
What?
say probably
Oh, yeah.
10 bad things in a row, and you'll try to find a way to be charitable to her. But
No,
you've
I
already
wouldn't.
written
If she
me off,
starts- if
right?
she starts-
Whatever the happened a year ago, you're hanging on to that?
No, I'm not. That was me being petty.
Then,
I
yeah,
admitted
that's
that.
what I'm saying. Your criticisms of me here are absolutely petty.
No, my criticisms in the moment of what happened today, I'm not gonna hold it against you of what
You just
happened
did.
between us. That was me being petty, and I'm sorry if that colors.
But you just did. You told
think of me.
everyone in this call that we have to behave better than Anna.
Yeah, I'm
and
talking
what
about
we
in the
did was
moment.
wrong.
I'm not saying it's a
Instead of
straight A,
addressing
because
what the fuck
straight A is
Anna did.
being good faith. I think straight A and Josh, but I think how you came in was the same way. It was wrong in my eyes. I don't think you should have done that, right?
Why
do
not?
you think you should have done that in order to be to
Why
get
not?
her,
Do you-
if you really wanted her to change, do you think your approach was effective?
Do you think that maybe I saw over
You gonna answer the
the
question?
span of several conversations that this woman doesn't respect other people? She walks all over them, talks all over them, and places an authority in herself over them. Why would I engage with that person in a respectful manner? I've seen
then
enough
my
to
prescription
know
was,
enough.
my other prescription was, if you're not going to be as charitable as Steven, then don't engage with her, ignore her.
No,
or
I do engage with her. I check her black card and I shut it down.
here's the spiritual decay that I'm talking about, Don. Like, you're trying to give them the good prescriptions, and they don't want to do it because they just want to do what they want to do.
I
So
mean,
now you got to be able to talk to them, you know. And so, Cherry, this is what I'm saying to you. You are perpetuating the loop that we're trying to be better, that we're trying to bring ourselves out.
You are perpetuating like just a different standard for different people. We are both black
Yeah,
women,
we're all
and you're
different.
holding
We're-
that standard
we're all
for me
different,
and
of
not for
course.
her.
No. Hold on.
Absolutely.
Hold on,
That's
just
exactly
wrong.
what the you're doing.
No, because number one, I haven't even talking to Anna yet, and I have a lot to say to Anna. I have a lot of prescriptions for Anna, and I don't think she should be in the space. She's not willing to do it, but it's Destiny's choice to keep letting her on. And I've seen Anna at her best, right? We've seen her at her best. So
What
I
is
don't
her
like it when
best?
she, and so this is my same standard I have.
Wait, what's
you.
her best?
I've seen you at your best. I don't think you need to demoralize yourself and get in the mud with everybody when Anna demoralizes herself and gets in the mud. I don't think you need to. I think I'm using the wrong word. I might be butchering a word. I don't think you need to lower yourself. Better word. I don't think you need to. You both don't need to lower yourselves. Excuse me. You both just need to stick to the good standards that you've already set. You set bars for yourself already.
Listen, I know I've had conversations about black issues with other people, very respectfully, very thought out, and all of that. I've done that. This isn't a situation for that. She is not a good faith actor. She is not a good conversationalist.
How do you know? She's been good faith in
I have
multiple
watched
accounts.
enough of her fucking content.
I've seen the same amount of content as you, and I've come to a different prescription.
If you've
She's
come,
trying-
So either
if
we're
you've
both
come to
lying
the
or we're both
idea
delusional.
that she is good faith, then you are just blind.
No, I'm saying when she lowers herself to become a bad faith actor, like we all do sometimes.
So then you acknowledge that she was bad
the
faith.
Conversation, and we have the capacity to be good faith actors.
Why would you challenge me on her being good faith and then acknowledge that?
Jerry, do you hear what I'm saying? Are you gonna loop?
I don't
Are you
think
gonna
I'm the one
continuously
looping.
Are you gonna deal with what I'm saying?
Once what you're saying is honest, yeah.
So then this is a pure bad faith action. You shouldn't even be talking to me right now. If you truly believe me to be a bad faith actor in this conversation, you shouldn't even be talking to me, which is one of my prescriptions.
Okay, hold on. Wait.
With our
Wait,
prescriptions,
let's
I don't go by your rules.
pausing real quick. So do we know what each other's issues are with each other? Like, Azzy, do you know why she's upset?
Yeah, because Anna is being immature and racist in a lot of circumstances. She says a lot of crazy stuff, reckless stuff, and then we're supposed to just put up with it. And I'm asking Cherry to be better, and I haven't said this to Anna, so she thinks I'm being unfair.
Yeah, kind of. I think
She wants to.
Wait, hold on. What Cherry?
Good faith I am.
Cherry just wants like a space to just be upset at somebody, is I think what she's
Okay,
essentially
but
saying.
do that on your own time. So let me be Andy. This is me. I went into while I was in college, right? I had and it deals with sexual abuse, right? So let me know if this is okay or not.
You can talk about whatever you want. Yeah.
All right, good. So I came into a room, right, and I'm having a conversation with my boys, and we're talking about men-women dynamics, and then another person in the club room thought she had the wherewithal and the autonomy to start shouting at me and my friends because she's gone through a traumatic experience with her last partner. She said all men are trash. You need to be more mature, and she started giving all her prescriptions of what I should do. Meanwhile, lowering herself and not even doing. And she thought she had the right to do that, right? Meanwhile, we're all grown adults, and we have the capacity to be as good faith as possible, and be in our own good and be on our best behavior, right? Just to make sure we have peace, right? So this is akin to a situation right now. We have one person who's being, kind of, we don't like the way she's acting, right? So we feel like we have the right to start yelling at her because we have the right to be upset. And
no, I feel like I have the right to match energy. That's what I feel like.
Oh yeah, you do. You have the full right, free will. Yes, you do. But you get to reward in heaven for all the free will you got.
You feel like I look goofy for it, and you think I care.
I do. As a even smaller than you, I could probably be real huge if I was consistent.
Okay.
But I'm not as consistent as you and Don, but as a small content creator.
Wait, I was this. You were talking about, the call for Christians to move with like grace, mercy, kindness. Isn't this a situation where you should maybe consider extending some grace to Cherry? Realize
so this is me, but they're not Christians, so I do this with
he got
Christians.
A grudge over me, so you don't gotta be graceful. Right.
But hold on, wait. We are not so. That is the doctrine of other religions. In Christianity, we're called to treat all of our brothers and sisters.
Pretty sure the golden rule is not even. It's golden rule.
No, I'm saying yeah. So I'm saying.
No, I swear to God, I trigger some of you up so bad that you're willing to drop your religion just so you can be spiteful.
What are you talking about? You haven't triggered me that much.
All right, so here's what I'm saying, right? Here's an opportunity.
I love you, bro, but you kind of act crazy sometimes.
Extend some mercy to someone who may not see the world through the same moral lens that you see it through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. But if we're gonna live by, do we all believe in the golden rule?
I mean, don't worry about what she believes. You feel me?
No, I'm not worried about it. I'm asking if we're in order to have this conversation, she already thinks I'm a bad faith liar. She already thinks that.
All right.
So I gotta be. If in order for this conversation to continue, we gotta lay some ground rules, right?
I'm just saying, you can't control what someone else thinks of you. Yeah,
of course, I know. I can't. I'm not gonna be like TJ at recess and try to force her to like me. I'm not gonna do that.
Sure, right? And so
I'm not gonna do that. She could dislike me. I don't know how she feels about me. So I know in this conversation now, she thinks I'm lying and I'm being nice to Anna. I'm being mean to her. But I'm saying, we're all in this space. I don't know about Josh. I don't know about Straight or Eight. We're all in this space as content creators, right? Or to an extent, right? I stream my occasional game every once in a while. You are here daily. I don't know about, I haven't been watching Cherry as much, but we're all here as content creators, right? So we should be able to hold each other accountable to certain standards, right?
I mean, including Anna.
Yeah, including her, right? She's not here right now, and I hold her to the same standard. I told Cherry, I hold her to the same standard. I'm telling Cherry, I would tell her.
But I don't think you do, because you're saying you should try to be kind, you should try to not engage with that. But if she's trying to dismiss my voice from the conversation on the basis of my skin color, then it doesn't matter how nice I am. At some point, she's gonna bring that up and she's gonna try to exclude me.
Still having this conversation, so we have the capacity to still have this conversation.
Oh wait, can I? Since I'm clearly missing a lot of context here. All right, so Cherry, what was your position that you had that this Anna person seems to have such a problem with?
They were talking about black issues in America, and Straight Raid was giving her input. Anna didn't want to hear it. She said Straight Raid was white, so I hopped in, told her to shut the f up, basically.
Okay, and that's what all of this is coming from, because you told someone at SDFU?
I mean, I didn't really cut in to say shut the f up, but that's the energy that I had. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm critiquing that energy right now.
Okay. So I'm saying, I think, brother, this is something we can let go sometimes. We can just allow one. I mean, I know misogyny is not allowed here, but I just think sometimes we should just let girls be girls, bro. That's sometimes how girls move. And so,
Base.
Done.
Yeah, please. Just saying, sometimes.
Are you saying I'm being misogynist?
I don't even know if that's misogyny. Right, you guys have fucking dick measuring contests all the time.
No, this is you know what DDG is? Love women, man. Love women. I'm like, if I'm being misogynic, right? If I'm being a misogynist right now, then she's being a misandrist.
No, I'm not saying you're being misogynist. I don't speak in
I
terms.
mean, I don't even have to say that's a waste of words, but like,
I don't use words like that. But
let girls be girls.
yeah, let girls be girls. A girl came in.
There's guys here too, so they're in a shared space. So
yeah, and all right. Well,
if you want to be the girls, go get the go have a girls' night out and be girls with each other. But you're here on Steven's space. And every time,
true, Azzy. I am here on his space. That's why I jumped in when I felt like it and yelled at her.
Destiny allowed the girls to be girls, and you know what? It got so bad he had to step in, bartend a little bit, and say, "Chill."
Okay.
Anytime Destiny steps in, and you guys are messing up his Factorio game. Every time you gotta mess up his Factorio game because you guys, don't know how to just be a little bit. Just be nice to each other, just be nice.
Okay, how dare you blame us on him sucking at Factorio? He has had like 500 years to finish this game. That's all on him.
What are you talking about? It's a long game. It probably goes into it probably is a perpetual game. It's like SimCity. I don't know if it ends.
It does.
It's probably a long
Don't worry
game.
about that. We don't need to talk about
It was supposed to end like a month ago.
Why is it? How dare me for caring about his game? As a gamer, I care about his game. What are you talking about?
True.
How about don't?
Wow.
See that? This is what happens when you let girls be girls, Don.
Oh God.
I'm telling you. Heard Tree. You heard Tree. If you're gonna be with the men, you gotta put on your big boy pants. You gotta start acting like the boys.
Oh boy.
And the boys gotta be respectful.
Maybe you should start acting like a boy.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay.
I felt that coming.
You say that? But Cherry, my love for you I love you as just as much as I love Anna. But
okay, but can you explain to me what any of this has to do with gender? Because you guys are like, let girls be girls, let boys be. What the fuck?
Free love. It's unconditional love, Cherry. You don't need to do anything from my love.
What I mean by that, to clarify, let girls be girls, is in my experience, sometimes girls get catty, and as a man, you're not supposed to think too deeply into it.
Like,
boys flame each other, bro. We flame each other into the ground. We will destroy each other for thousands of people.
Can you remind me,
the next day, but we will destroy each other.
Azzy, can you remind me what the happened a year ago?
That's the black thing that Anna talked about. We've got
a year ago reference. We got to call out what happened a year ago.
No, Azzy. The thing from a year ago, was that from the someone saying something about white people were inferior to black people? Was that panel that we had to follow?
Engaged with you, I think it was from like it's because I met you. I found your panel. I found your stream because you did some art for him. I came in. You were going over Anna and Destiny content. I asked you a question, and because the way I acted on Prime's panel, I have a little bit of regrets. Yeah. I used to joke around a lot. I think I joked around with you a little bit. You called me a troll streamer, and in front of everybody, you kind of mocked me in front of your stream, and it hurt me a little bit, right? And I couldn't.
Why did I think you were a troll?
You made me seem like less of a. You kind of attacked my masculinity there. Like you said, I was less of a person in front of everybody.
What does that have to do with your masculinity? What made me think that you were a troll, Azzy?
Because I was trolling like everybody else.
Oh, so you were trolling, and then I thought you were a troll.
You painted me with a broad brush.
It sounds horrible of me. How awful of me.
You have no idea what happened. I have no idea what happened. Maybe if you were nicer to me, maybe I'd be just as big as you.
Why do I have to? Are you saying that your streaming career was harmed because of me?
Yeah, you have no. Matter of fact, I say this to Prime too. When you guys treat me a certain way, when y'all treat me a certain way, but this is content creation. When you treat a content creator a certain way on a public platform, it paints a broader notion of who they are as a content creator, and that will affect their content. So this is why you got to be just as nice and terrible until you don't have to, or you ignore them entirely. This is why you see there's chasms of content creation where people go to their own orbit and go to their own universe. I'm hanging out here with y'all, right? And I'm probably lower on the totem pole because I'm a God-fearing man, black, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be as good as possible, and then you call me a troll streamer, Cherry, and that hurt me.
Wow.
I feel like you're saying people have to play defense for other streamers' shitty behavior, no matter how badly they behave and act, just because they're streamers or whatever. Like, yeah, I can get behind that one.
Call them. There's ways of where we can hold each other accountable without getting in the mud with each other. Do you agree with that?
I agree. And one of those things starts with not dismissing me because they think I'm white.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But just like we saw, I just want to add an example. Just like we saw how they tried to change Destiny real quick over the past few days. They're trying to Destiny, you can be better. Destiny, I'm sure you're not seeing all the color. I hope I'm not mocking Kyla, excuse me. Destiny, I feel like there's certain colors you're not seeing, Destiny, right? That was, and in the way she was articulating, right? I would totally agree with the way she was articulating, right? She's not getting in the mud in the way she perceives Destiny to be doing, or Steven, excuse me. She's not calling Steven out in a way that's gonna make him explode and have an episode. But she's saying, yeah, there's certain things you could do better. That's just, that's what peers and friends do, especially if we have to share a space.
I don't know. I feel like she was reaching out of concern, not necessarily accountability, if that makes sense. Usually,
I'm concerned for Anna if she wants to grow, and I'm concerned for Cherry if she wants to grow, because I want to see people grow. I think that is as a Christian man, everybody should be growing. Everyone should be growing until you are as close as you can be to the image of God, the Imago.
This is where I was talking about. This is why people have, let me, because I want to come off as loving as possible, right? This is where I think the problem arises, where we have the young lady right here. My computer's acting up. Oh, Straight Array, right? Her perception of Christianity and why she's like, oh yeah, this wouldn't work, right? Because you're behaving in the way you're behaving, and then putting on top of that, oh, Christian man. You know what I'm saying?
You're blaming the doctrines of Christianity for the problems that happen, and or they're ineffective.
No,
look at all the problems are not you, Don. Straight Array. Yeah.
No, well, I'm just saying the way you're behaving right now, I think you could better model a Christian man. You feel me? Yeah.
No, man. This is me. Jesus was kicking people. He was in the church getting mad.
Okay, wait, hold on, wait, because that was the example that
I'm Jesus.
Wait, that was
I'm not saying I'm Jesus.
Well, that was the example.
Everybody in our human state, we have a range of emotions, right? I'm not out here. I'm not cussing. I'm not calling you. I'm not attacking a character. I'm not saying you did anything evil and wrong. You shouldn't be here. Am I doing any of those things? Let me know.
Well, do you think it's ever would we consider Jesus in the temple? Was that a sin, or is there ever
no,
a form
it wasn't
of
a sin? Anger is true. Even God gets angry.
Yeah. So was it okay for Cherry to get angry at somebody that was being?
The way she dealt with her anger and the way she the feeling is not the problem. The feeling isn't a problem. It's the reaction to the feeling. That's the problem.
I agree that you're being civil and you're being polite and respectful, but it's not really about that. I'm talking about the character and the person that you were defending, and what you were defending, and tone policing Cherry and to a certain extent myself over is
Jesus defended the hose. He defended the tax.
So is it true? Is what she's saying true about you treating them differently? You're giving.
I think it's perceived. Let me ask you this: is it perceived differently? Is the perception the way I'm treating Anna differently than the way I'm treating Cherry?
I wouldn't know.
Asking everybody
to tell me that, but yeah.
I'll ask the man himself. Steven, do you think I was treating Cherry different than I'm treating Anna?
Probably not, but that's not relevant. Her issue is that she doesn't believe they deserve equal treatment. She thinks that Anna should be treated worse because Anna was the one that was being racist. That's what her response would be, right?
All right, yeah. So I'm a classroom teacher, and I can't. Yeah, there's certain disciplines you have to do to discipline certain students, but that doesn't mean you start treating them differently, because then those students will perceive the different treatment over time, and they'll act a certain way. They'll start acting out.
Do you believe
Anna's exhibiting bad behavior. Lava was exhibiting bad behavior.
Okay.
Max was always bad. Yeah. I'm sorry. Destiny, you shouldn't have never let Max in here, bro. I know it's fun, but that man, no, because no. That's why we have different classrooms for different people, man. I think he should have been in, he has special abilities. He should have been with the special abilities class, man. I think this is Anna and Lav, like when they have bad behavior, doesn't mean we gotta start treating them like they're the bad kids and start, you don't gotta treat bad kids like bad kids in order to correct the behavior.
Gotcha.
And I what were you gonna say?
Well, I was asking if you think somebody always should be nice when they're holding someone accountable, and I think that kind of just answered the question.
You don't, but you don't gotta be. Do you have some? Was that the question, or you had something else to add?
Well, yeah, no, that was the main question. If you always have to be nice to hold someone accountable, and I feel like your answer was yes, basically, but now you're saying no. So
no, I'm not saying you gotta be nice. See, so there's, I think, okay, and I apologize now, and I apologize ahead of time because I'm very passionate and I'll interrupt you. So you gotta, let me know, all right? And I'm working on that. That's one of my flaws. I interrupt a lot, so but I don't think you have to be nice, but you don't gotta be mean. There's an in between. There's like, you can be strict. Be strict. You don't gotta be destitute. Like, you don't gotta be like.
What is the problem? This is why.
What is the problem?
I don't get what the problem is. Like, why? What are we fighting about? What are we arguing about? Like, are we chastising a grown woman for like her tone of voice? What is it that we're doing? I'm just like. Because this
I think sometimes we can be
more than racism, and I feel like racism is probably a bigger problem here, right? So it's like
we're treating Anna a certain way because we think she's racist.
Is Anna
think she's racist? Yeah, they thought people have said, I think you're racist. I don't think she's racist.
Anna's not here though, right?
Anna's not even here. Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay, right.
I can't really talk about Anna, but we're talking about Anna, so I'm just talking about Anna. Yeah, but I would treat if Anna was here now, I'd probably treat her the same way I'm treating Cherry. Like, what are y'all doing? Y'all look goofy.
All right, so okay, but I would love to shift the conversation